My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
Light activity, ongoing audible activity, demonic pacing. This is a gang violence that Mike LORENZ is going to be prosecuted for. They're an engineer light. And over here is engaged in what is harassment on behalf of the state. While the demons are molesting, like you already know, those demons are molesting, pacing, monitoring to it. While demons are in the middle of the night stalking. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct with omnitrans. That's audible activity of the mentally ill that are engaged in stalking with light. That's the mentally ill that are gang stalking me together on behalf of the gang members who are the Ontario police, and they're going to prison for that. The entities over here, this is a demon. So this is the entity that's engaging in ongoing harassment and sitting over here making loud noises, intentionally seeking to disrupt my sleep while they're monitoring together. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. It's currently 5:25 a.m. This is in the specific environment at the venue where the entity is routinely stalking and monitoring with light. That's light activity. This is the entity that's doing so at this venue where they're stalking me routinely by plane and helicopter. This is third-party conduct. This is group conduct, the demons that are stalking me with impossible light. This is where the entity is rising the fake sun, setting the fake sun, and keeping the fake moon at nightfall. This is the entity that's engaged in targeting together with the people of the state. All right, it's currently 5:25 a.m. This is psychopathic pacing as well in traffic. And these are the demons that are hostile. This is another iteration of the same gang stalking. All right, that's P.O.C. with that impossible light. Yeah, Mike LORENZ is going to prison. That's the same pattern of conduct. Those aren't headlights, and that's a stalker that turns in order to engage in that molestation. Demon is engaged in what is beating on and making loud noises to interfere with sleep. This is Mike LORENZ. The same demons that engage in stalking with helicopter to engage in that pattern of conduct. These are sex offenders. These are the Nephilim that go into the bathroom stalking, obsessed with me, hostile, angry, but obsessed as well, and also engaged in stalking and furtherance of murder. This is the mentally ill. That is their mental illness. This is the pattern of conduct. Okay, that's P.O.C. Crossing paths, stalking with light. That's what they're doing at the square with the entity stalking with planes. Those aren't headlights. That's a demon. They're engaged in what is stalking with planes, stalking with impossible light, stalking me with helicopters, stalking with impossible light. That's exactly what I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. This is the shared mental illness by the people of the state who are obsessed with me, and their stalking and their obsession is a matter of public information. It's going to be at the forefront of the obsessed demon, Mike LORENZ, who's been obsessed with me as a demon. He's a violent sex offender, keeping my vagina under surveillance in concert with the Nephilim that he is a part of, stalking me in my sleep, stalking me while I'm outside, stalking me while I'm inside, everywhere that I'm located with regard to this terrorist leader in the city of Ontario. This is the pattern of conduct by the demons in the state of California. This is P.O.C. It's 5:27 a.m. Alrighty, it is Monday, November 10th, 2025. The fake sun is now in alignment with what is the driver's side of Omnitrans Route 83, and it is remaining stationary and not moving with anybody on those buses as they proceed south on Euclid Avenue. Speaking to Omnitrans, the entirety of that business, stalking, in concert with every other establishment that is sharing in what is sexual assault and battery. This is in concert with the gang members who are the government. The one engaging in what is kidnapping as an entity, which is this terrorist leader, Mike LORENZ, is going to federal prison for the ongoing sexual violence that I'm subject to, that I'm documenting. Sexual violence pursuant to the gang stalking proven through a supernatural environment where these are demons. Mike LORENZ is a demon, and 9GOZ890 is a demon that's gang stalking with the government, with this population, with that agency. The fact of that fake sun at what is currently it's 7:01 a.m. The entity's keeping the fake sun over me at the Ontario Airport Inn, which is what I'm able to document as I walk outside of my hotel room. License 04833K3, and this would be 8:01 a.m. during daylight savings time. Remember, I captured my video of the fake sun over me at the Ontario Airport Inn at approximately 7:55, 7:54. The entity has a fake sun over me at Starbucks, where the fake sun, as I've also shown, is remaining over me where I'm being targeted and being molested. That's unlawful, which is a sexual means of violating, while they keep it in the bathroom, while they touch your body, while they harass you with it, while they do so while things like sunlight isn't going to shoot off of your car. In the same way that sunlight doesn't shoot through the air and you drive through it and it creates light, they're monitoring and they're engaged in sexual violence. So is Starbucks, so is Chevron, so is Hardy working inside of the Chevron, so is every customer who are demons gang stalking, together sharing in what is kidnapping and murder and sexual violence. This is shared by terrorist leaders and mentally ill demons, the same entity conspiring by murder and sharing in every criminal offense that I'm documenting and ongoing terrorism and furtherance of murder. Jason Isaac Fields, okay? This is relevant to prosecuting the government. Tracy Banks'
sexual relationship with the demon-possessed, these terrorist leaders, the people of the state, which is speaking to what is a connection, an inappropriate connection, nonetheless in a connection with regard to what is gang stalking me, targeting me, conspiring against me, doing so for perhaps sexual favors, perhaps having relationships with those, not perhaps, but having relationship with those that where they were feigning to be friends of mine or in my life, and whenever she's not hanging out with me and my 20-something-year-old friends. People that are in my social group, that's never been the case, not to my face. Having sex with them is something that she is engaged in while they're gang stalking me together. That's where her inappropriate sexual relationships with demons like Jason Isaac Fields comes into play and becomes legally relevant. It's also relevant because she has lied about it, and she has engaged in what is showing her character for lying, in addition to the people of the state. Lying about the people of the state, telling you that I harassed someone when you're stalking me the entire time. That's the pattern of conduct of the Ontario Police Department. That's the pattern of conduct by the City of Ontario. That's the pattern of conduct by the people of the state, Tracy Banks and her sex partners. Okay? The government that's gang stalking is gang stalking with the people of the state. The people of the state that are gang stalking by virtue of driving in what is not sunlight, touching you with that which is not sunlight, harassing you and falsely accusing you while being psychopaths like they're ignorant about you and they're all stalking you together. 5 SUW 162 42605Y2. Sexual assault and battery systematically underway. 13173H4. It would not happen one time. It's happening hundreds of times. That's the inhumanity behind the sexual violence that Mike Lorenz is going to be prosecuted for. This is sexual violence that is pursuant to psychological torture preceding murder that this entity engages in together. Not different from what the Los Angeles Police Department committed, hitting a young man in the middle of the street on their skateboard. That is the perfect circumstance where they are able to control the narrative, and him being in the middle of the street on a skateboard is a means whereby you are able to essentially blame him for what is his demise by an entity that's engaged in criminal surveillance, which they're not telling you when they're claiming that LAPD is not liable for it, not only because they had their sirens on, but because he was being assuming a risk, if you will, being negligent, being reckless by being in the middle of the street with a skateboard. Even though LAPD is driving into the middle of the street inexplicably, not veering away from anything, and also doing so pursuant to surveillance, which I've also shown. LAPD is engaged in gang stalking just like the Ontario Police Department, in concert with the City of Ontario. That's stalking by planes, where I'm being molested. Stalking by planes, where no planes are taking off. Stalking by planes where you're not both taking off over the Ontario Town Square, the amphitheater, but then you're also hovering and stalking at different varying elevations and audible activity levels while I am showing you a fake sun that's rising and setting at the address where I'm at now, subject to sexual assault and battery by terrorist leaders. That includes Jason Isaac Fields, is subject to federal prison, and Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams. These are terrorist leaders, and including the Ontario Board, but I'm getting to those that commit kidnapping, those that share in abusing their position while they are in the entirety of the pattern of conduct, relying on these puppets. These are demons. They rely on these puppets to maintain the pattern of conduct. Okay? That's P.O.C. It is currently, I want to be clear, 7:05 a.m. It's Monday, November 10, 2025. This is the significance of what I'm uploading because while I'm do not lose perspective, don't lose the big picture. Jason Isaac Fields' inappropriate sexual relationship, his inherent conflict with not only targeting an American citizen and lying and having unclean hands while trying to represent himself as being somebody that has the authority under the law to have any sort of involvement with me whatsoever, by stealing my property, by permitting anyone else to steal my property, by keeping me under surveillance and gang stalking me and referring to it as an investigation where there is not even any basis for it, and then seeking to murder me, which is the purpose of this gang stalking system, which you are also not going to unilaterally try to cleanse yourself, sanitize yourself away from. That's impossible. He is still gang stalking with the same entity that is still gang stalking, and the federal government is watching the City of Ontario gang stalk me. And he's going to prison, and so are the domestic terrorist leaders with whom he has conspired my murder. Relying on this city, this entity that defamed my character, that kidnapped me, that did so pursuant to malicious assertions like Tracy Banks, like the OVITT Family Community Library, like Starbucks, he's going to prison. This is relevant to the sex offense I'm subject to right now. 6DLA185, DGA8X3, that's Arizona, 37621U3. These are all co-conspirators of murder. You have what are millions of people that are conspiring your murder while there are millions of people are gang stalking you. You're going to prison. That's federal prison. It is currently, by the way,
7:07 a.m. where the entity, that's audible noise under the fake sun. Let me take a picture of it, where these demons are conspiring my murder actively with Mike Lorenz, whose impunity is going to be prosecuted based on this criminal conduct that he is responsible for, while the agency practices the same pattern of conduct with Tracy Banks, who's crossing path at what is 7:07 a.m. She's driving south on Euclid Avenue, monitoring, listening. 9NHM887 conspiring with Tracy and her sex partners. 8LHE699, 9TOC673. Tracy Banks is gang stalking under the same fake sun with the same impossible light activity. 8DYW590 conspiring my murder with her sex partner Jason Isaac Fields. With her co-conspirators, the same demons, the people of the state. Remember, the pattern of conduct is underway at Woodside Senior Apartments. She's fully engaged in the P.O.C. License G as in George, 94001. That's an African American male, gang stalking with Tracy Banks, who's a part of this. This is surveillance, not traffic. That's why the fake sun is still here, as I've documented, after 6 p.m., after 7 p.m. P.O.C. 9HUC740 is Tracy Banks' license plate. License plate 6SPD325. She's going to federal prison. Jason Fields is going to prison. Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams, federal prison for the conspiracy to murder and having engaged in what is attempted murder, for engaging in gang stalking, which is terrorism, committed in furtherance of murder. Okay? The entities engaged in that pattern of conduct with 5XPU140, even immigrants in the U.S., and the entity that's gang stalking with commercial planes. So let me show you that, where UPS is gang stalking as though they're taken off, and you're looking at what is moments later, where stalkers are acting in the moment, engaging in what is exhibiting their mental illness while they're stalking under things like a fake sun. This is what they're doing at the Ontario Town Square at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the evening. It's not a takeoff. And it wasn't a takeoff yesterday while UPS engaged in hovering behind the amphitheater of the town square. It's not a takeoff, and there are no takeoffs and arrivals while they're stalking in the sky space. That's what it is, under what is a fake sun. This fake sun is over me while that same airport is stalking, where there are no takeoffs behind the Ontario Town Square, which is on the opposite side of this apartment building, where they're making U-turns, flying at a high elevation, and the airport is not behind that apartment building either. They're stalking where the fake sun is over me at 1 o'clock, and that airport is stalking with this population. That's molesting, okay? Molesting with impossible light. While they are driving north on Euclid Avenue, the shadows of their vehicles are extending beyond. While they are driving south on Euclid Avenue, impossible light activity is coming toward me, and the shadows of their vehicles like this are extending on the opposite side. This is impossible light, and that is all impossible light. They're all pacing and engineer light. These are the demon possessed, including those stalking and commercial planes. UPS is engaged in what is targeted harassment yesterday. They're doing so in furtherance of murder. That's just one airline company that I'm going to prosecute. All of the airlines with the City of Ontario, the Ontario International Airport is engaged in conspiracy to murder with Mike Lorenz, Jason Isaac Fields, okay? Tracy Banks is engaged in that conspiracy while she's gang stalking the Ontario International Airport that doesn't have any takeoffs over the Ontario Town Square. They're not landing behind the amphitheater like I documented them hovering, stalking me yesterday under a fake sun, okay? They're doing so stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments, where Tracy Banks is gang stalking me as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:10 a.m. All right, I'm capturing video of the entity gang stalking by the airport, which is, again, criminal conduct attributed to the pattern of conduct by that agency, the Ontario Police, the domestic terrorist leader, both Mike Lorenz and what is Jason Isaac Fields. The entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct while I'm documenting the sexual offense. And the entity I also want to document, there's no failure with regard to internet. ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue, who's gang stalking right now with all of the City of Ontario, conspiring my murder and also interfering with internet connection, okay? The Wi-Fi network is there, full signal. The entity that's monitoring, stalking me at that ARCO, monitoring what I'm uploading onto the ARCO Wi-Fi, is engaged in what is the inability to use that. And that's just relevant with regard to your conspiracy to murder me and your intent to block the ability to access that Wi-Fi. Nonetheless, the entity thinking that you can interfere with internet because it's your gas station, you don't have the right to engage in gang stalking, and you're conspiring my murder while you're engaging in what is not a right that you have whatsoever, while you're seeking to murder someone as a corrupt business. And that's what I'm going to prosecute ARCO for. This is the pattern of conduct. It's 7:11 a.m. And this is at the intersection of E Street and Euclid, where the entity is stalking by planes, stalking by the people of the state, stalking under the fake sun. Remember, at the Bethel congregation at F Street, the same intersection, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun is not going to be at the same intersection, where 7VEB966 is stalking me specifically and is also violating my body on behalf of the government. They also go into the bathroom to keep me under surveillance, and they're obsessed with my vagina altogether. And that includes Jason Isaac Fields and his sex partner, this demon, Tracy Banks, who's gang stalking with the rest of them. License plate 8ZHM759 6JYJ552 13162U2. This is P.O.C. The entity is engaged in surveillance through this landscaping company mission. I've documented them before. They're engaged in surveillance, parking the vehicle on the opposite side of the road. It's 7:12 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and document. It's all criminal presence. Literally, the establishment Starbucks, as the fake sun remains over you. I've shown you the pattern of conduct. That's why the fake sun's stationary. But I'm on at the same time, I'm on venues like Omnitrans, and that fake sun is necessarily moving. It's not staying at Starbucks for it to be seen in the window of Starbucks at 7:15 in the morning, where this entity is kidnapping, for which Jason Fields and the terrorist leader, Mike LORENZ, is going to be prosecuted. They're going to prison for that pattern of conduct of kidnapping me, while they've been targeting in the way in which I've shown in furtherance of murder. It's not going to stay stationary, however, through that window while it's moving, while the bus is moving, going from city to city is proof of that movement, where the two are not happening at the same time. The sun is stationary, so stationary that it's still here after 6 and 7 p.m., but yet it's dynamic when I get on any bus route, particularly as I documented Route 83. Omnitrans that's routinely and systematically gang stalking me. Okay, the entity is doing so, and you're also mindful of that. While I'm at Holt Boulevard, the United States Postal Service just the other day, and the fake sun is over me at that United States Postal Service, while these demons are engaging in the sex offense. That is, again, the entity that of the mentally ill harassing at the bus stop, while they're also sexually obsessed with me, stalking me in places like bathrooms, obsessed with me while I'm outside. You want to come outside and stalk me? Use a demon that's outside while you pace all around as demons that are stalking all together. That's the mentally ill. The mentally ill includes Tracy Banks. It includes Mike LORENZ. It includes Jason Isaac Fields that have engaged in what is sexual activity with each other as a sex cult, as the Nephilim, as the demon possessed, who have also compensated these demons that are stalking me in planes and helicopters and using their businesses like this gang stalking landscaping company license 14697J1. This is P.O.C. They're all under the fake sun, including the demons inside of Starbucks, where they've already engaged in what is kidnapping. The fact that I am still documenting the pattern of conduct after they committed kidnapping, pursuant to criminal summoning, they're going to federal prison. In addition to the fact of me documenting that criminal act, that act of what is humiliation by the entity, where you're being, understand, ordinary American citizens being subject to harassment, being subject to targeting. They're doing so in that environment. They're doing so as psychopaths, looking to the left and the right while they're stalking. You're going to prosecute them while they do that. You're going to diagnose their mental illness while they do that. But this is relevant to the entity that's targeting you through the police department. And that's the entity that's still subject to that. And it's relevant to what they were doing on July 4th, 2025. And it was this pattern of conduct. They're going to prison. They're going to prison for engaging in targeting me with Tracy Banks' sex partners. Okay? License 9PSE 393, 9GLC 737. P.O.C. the demons are pacing in and out of Starbucks, monitoring and doing so. You've seen the light activity when they pace in and out monitoring me. You've seen the light activity when they're pacing all through that cafe monitoring me. You've seen the engineer light while they're all stalking and monitoring inside of that Starbucks. That coexists with this fake sun, direct evidence against them where I don't have to be inside after they engaged in what is harassment and terrorism and the perpetual sex offense. 9RMX 988, they're engaging in that for the duration of the day while a fake sun and engineer light remains all over the corrupt establishment, the gang stalker Starbucks. Okay, P.O.C. it is currently, again, 7:15 a.m. This is P.O.C. license plate 9MJZ088. And remember, this isn't traffic, this is surveillance. So all the people of the state are coming to this intersection to engage in sexually violating Erica Spencer. In the same way they go into the bathroom to monitor Erica Spencer's vagina, everyone knowing that I'm in there. 6GLP328. Mike LORENZ is going to federal prison just for that. The perpetual sex offense. 687249. It's terrorism. License 8JUE764. It's terrorism of a sexual nature and a psychopathic, perverted nature. It's gang violence. Starbucks committed the same thing in its bathrooms. Oops. 8FKW527. And remember, not only is this the basis of prison for terrorist leaders like Fields and LORENZ and Williams, 6SWH639, These demons engaged in what is prolonged obstruction of justice. They're going to prison for that. That's enhancement to they're going to prison. And they're going to prison for a long time for seeking to murder me to then try to get away with it. License 9GWV188, which further incentivizes these terrorists, these sex offenders, these psychopaths, these demons, the Nephilim, to continue targeting. 1302464, they're going to prison under all circumstances. Every kidnapping, every sex act that committed against me, every day that I remain subject to it, every dollar and every piece of property, everything that they profited from with regard to stealing from me, they're going to prison for it. And I mean these terrorist leaders, with regard to also these little puppets at Starbucks, they're going to prison. But the terrorist leaders themselves, they're going to federal prison. And it's currently 7:18 a.m. 5BWE757 9HEG061, 16610P3, stalking with impossible light across the UNICARE Community Center. License 7BCH404. Terrorist leaders are going to prison for the impunity with which the people of the state engage in targeting in order to murder you. NA979, handicap 8SAJ675, 7BCH404. They're going to federal prison for the entity's impunity. The demons that are stalking by plane at the Ontario Town Square. And in real time, while I'm describing stalking by UPS, UPS commits that offense again. Clearly stalking. That impunity, Mike Lorenz. These demons of the Ontario International Airport. The kidnappers of that agency, the Ontario Police. Demons like Tracy Banks and Jason Phillips are going to prison for those things. These are the leaders in the conspiracy to murder me. They are sending the Nephilim to attack you, to stalk you, to psychologically torture you. DANRO2, license 6ELK919, 8ZMM102, on the roads and the highways, at every place, at all times, including while I'm outside. Because of these demons, they're going to prison. That's how you understand how you're going to prosecute, just like you would Osama bin Laden, for being a terrorist leader of those who, under their regime, murder American citizens, are on assignment to kill American citizens, and do so through the destructive, satanic, corrupt, and criminal acts committed against American citizens. That's what this gang violence is. Osama bin Laden, not different from the gang violence that Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams, Jason Isaac Fields, the federal government, are going to be prosecuted for. It's domestic terrorism in the United States, and they're going to prison for it. The fact that I survived, the fact that I'm the one that had to prove it alone, you're just going to federal prison even longer. It's not less of an offense because Osama bin Laden was not successful in taking my life. Right? Osama bin Laden's also subject to what would be federal prison with regard to the American citizens that survive his attempt and that regime's attempt to take your life. You're no less of a terrorist. In fact, because I survived, you're going to prison. Because I'm able to tell about what it is that you did and the way you did it and what you intended to get away with. AJLH792. P.O.C. It's, like I stated, 7:20 a.m. Do not lose sight. Everything that I'm documenting is a matter of prosecution of the terrorist leaders. And like I stated, the terrorist leaders are the Ontario board. It is the fire chief. It is the Ontario executive team. It is the ones that engage in what is abusing law enforcement, which they're not engaged in law enforcement. They're engaged in criminal surveillance, which is what is revealed while I have exposed this ongoing criminal conduct that I was subject to by the state, okay? This is exposing the Nephilim, which is simultaneously exposed while I've been engaged in what is exposing what I was subject to by the state. These terrorist leaders, who are also, this is the Nephilim, they are engaged in what is surveillance pursuant to what is murdering people. And the entity tried to do that to me. And they're still doing it right now. APQS 354. Fields is going to prison for that. The fact that you are seeking to murder me, still targeting me, even while I'm documenting you. There is no pressing pause when you initiate this system against somebody. That's why you're going to prison. You want to provide information to the federal government because you don't want to go to prison. You're not getting out of prison because there's no stopping. This is what I'm showing you. You put out a contract on an American citizen's life by gang stalking them. The Nephilim themselves, these animals, these light-slinging gargoyles, these violent sex offenders that obsess over your genitalia, while they engage in what is the practice of massive witchcraft, while they're mentally ill psychopaths stalking you obsessively, millions of them having an obsession with you, stalking you, you can't stop that. You're going to prison for it. 5NQL849. And no information you give to the federal government that's dragging its feet, you're going to federal prison for the federal government taking its time. You're going to federal prison for the years in which I've been documenting that I never should have had in the first place. You're going to federal prison for the amount of time that I've been kidnapped every single time. You're going to federal prison for the defamation to my character. You're going to federal prison for the effort that I had to put forth to make sure that I'm taken seriously when I'm talking and speaking about things that are unprecedented because you're a psychopath and you're a demon. You're going to federal prison for all of that. License 706T0B1, City of Ontario. Stalking under the fake sun as I exit the Bethel congregation yesterday with a leaf blower. Monitoring under that fake sun. This is the same block. Look at the picture. They're gang stalking right now. It is currently 7:22 a.m. They're going in and out of Starbucks, gang stalking. And the terrorist leaders are going to prison for that. This is the federal RICO case as well. It is, like I stated, 7:23 a.m. License plate 03081 Paul 3. This is sexual violence by the masses. 15620 Henry 1. Hardick and the ARCO employee, they're engaged in systematic sexual violence. They're already on the record. 7ZIK944. All the employees in Starbucks, they're already on the record. They're going to produce their identity. They're engaged in sexual violence. UNICARE Community Health Center, they're right here in relevant position. They're all sharing in sexual violence. 8CPT274, 8LIG860, 9RFB876. The airport is engaging in sexual violence. No medical professional at any level is going to be in the medical profession being a documented gang stalker by establishment or by me documenting you, period. Nor will you while you are engaging in sexual violence. All of it is out. You're out of the medical profession. This is the P.O.C. It's the same thing with the legal profession. It is currently, like I stated, 7:24 a.m. Chevron and ARCO. Remember, the fake signs over me at the United States Postal Service where they're engaged in sexual violence. It's not even the product of sunlight when you're driving under it, let alone this fake sun is over me at the United States Postal Service. These demons are being prosecuted as the gang that they are. They have been outmaneuvered. I'm going to prosecute them with the law. 88264T3 is gang stalking while the fake sun's at the same time over 1555 East Hope Boulevard where no sun is going to be in alignment to your vehicle for you to be engaged in stalking with impossible light, which is a sex offense. You're doing so intentionally. 9MIE778, 6VDV 682, 9BWD 059. This is mental illness. This is a picture of mental illness, a population, and this is the Nephilim. This is what Scripture has described. They have already been subject to judgment by Christ Jesus, and He's coming back in judgment against them, and they're going to be facing judgment, worldwide exposure, and a prosecution by me. License plate 23643 Charlie 3. And it includes demons, the Nephilim, Mike Lorenz, he is of the Nephilim. Derek Williams, the Nephilim. The entire agency of the Ontario Police, the Nephilim. The demons that are stalking and obsessed with me using their whole airline company, their planes, that's the Nephilim. License plate 7NDN529. The Nephilim will not be in the medical profession. I encountered you, you're done with. The Nephilim will not be in the legal profession. They will not be in law enforcement. License plate 8NJF421, 9 Kelly Larry Edward 845, 6 Victor Bob Uncle 437, 7 Wendy George Edward 014, 89198 Frank 4. License 6 Mary Nancy Henry, 6 Mary Nancy Henry 239. I think I read that one already. 6 Sam Queen Victor 576. And the gang members of the Ontario International Airport. Gang stalking, right? Where they're flying closer to me and they're engaged in what is hovering from the Ontario Town Square. This is the entity that's doing so from one airport in the city of Ontario, 2 terminals, Terminal 2, Terminal 4. The address being 2500 Airport Drive. This is no takeoff. This is stalking. Doing so, and what I'm showing you is an inconsistent manner, but what is consistent is the inconsistency of this environment where the fake sun's over me at the United States Postal Service at 7:27 a.m. The entity's engaged in this pattern of conduct, shown to be stalking as an airport. Okay? Right here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the fake sun's over the top of my head during daylight savings time, where they're feigning, taking off, hovering, flying behind me on the amphitheater. Look at what U.S.C is doing last night, doing yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where this fake sun is still in line with me at the Overtown Community Library, as Dylan is molesting me with impossible light. A demon stalking, just like they are with impossible light activity. That's a sex offense committed by demons that are gang stalking you. And unfortunately, these demons who are mentally ill psychopaths conspiring murder, they have children. They give birth to demons that engage in this therapy. 7 Mary Rochester Frank, 493 was exhibit A of that. She's a gang stalking psychopath. Stalking me in places like Backlund as an entity and then giving birth to the nephew. License plate to engage in gang stalking them together, including minors in the criminal pattern of conduct with the government that's stalking by plane. This is P.O.C. 7:28 a.m. All right? The entity has the fake sun as I'm documenting images. I'm walking. That's the pattern of conduct. ELBLDRS. P.O.C. This is conduct in concert with the gang leaders, Mike Lorenz, Jason Isaac Phillips. The agency, the Ontario Police, is going to be disbanded. And this is the perpetual sex offense. Not only is the son going to be at the United States Postal Service and not in alignment to me, not only is it going to be over the Ontario Airport Inn, not in alignment to me, you're driving under it, which is the commission of gang stalking in front of the murder, is not creating light coming through for you. Those are people that are stalking. License 8SCY959. That's the pattern of conduct. That's the cause of the light. That's the light that they have shooting underneath the hood over there. I'll attach that video. There are demons that are targeting. They've got light going underneath that hood. They've got light swinging across the sidewalk when they're in and up there. And they have light moving towards you now. So they're trying to have they don't know you. You're going to process that, whatever direction that you're looking in. You're going to be P.O.C. 9TCY09. Alrighty, if you can hear me speaking, I'm recording video of the Ontario International Airport gang stalking. That's pursuant to the gang violence of the Ontario Police Department in furtherance of that agency targeting in furtherance of murder. Okay, this is P.O.C. License plate 9ENG536. And the people of the state are going to prison for kidnapping with that agency. The people of the state are incriminating, which is providing the case against terrorist leaders that are going to prison for terrorism. And that's Fields, that's Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams, 8RAD211. The Ontario International Airport stalking again at this corner where I'm located, which is exactly what UPS was doing. That's exactly what the Ontario International Airport were doing at the Ontario Town Square, which I already stated. Okay, these are demons that are obsessed and they're not bright at all. So they're engaged in what is hovering down like you're landing there, but there's only one airport. So you're talking about the inconsistent elevation. You're talking about under all circumstances the public nuisance regarding the audible activity. You're talking about what is a nuisance based on where the airport is located and what takeoffs and landings are going to consist of. And it's nothing what the airport is doing to me while I am at places in Ontario and the entity is stalking. That's the entity that's targeting. That's doing so with the agency that commits kidnapping. 9UKA822 while they're monitoring. That's the significance of stalking and the maintaining of the surveillance, which is stalking as well. But the entity is engaged in this while they are monitoring. The audible noise, the presence all around me, the engineer light, the fake sun conduct. K45I. This is P.O.C. That's a license plate. It's 7:31 a.m. And the entity is stalking together with the airport. That's psychopathic pacing. That's above my head. This is psychopathic pacing and the engineer light. They're monitoring together. They kidnap together as well. They engage in criminal summoning together. 8NDS929, 9LJT993. Remember when I am coming out of the This is Bethel congregation yesterday. The fake sun is over me after 12 p.m. and I'm capturing video at Chevron, and the entity is flying over the top of my head. There's two planes. One is they're at heightened elevation. They're stalking me while I'm looking at the people, the state, the demons that are gang stalking by gas pump. And the fake sun is the proof of that. It's 7 right now, 8, 9, 10, 11. Over 5 hours later, the sun is not going to be at this same block. Not only is it at the same block, it's over my head at this same block. We're 7ZTX280 and 5KRT768 are stalking together, and they go into the drive-thru of Starbucks that is also stalking. All of this is gang violence and furtherance of murder. This is how the United States government is murdering American citizens, by targeting them, subject to surveillance that the government has not told you that we're all subject to, monitoring that the demon possessed that don't want you to know that they're here. This is the Nephilim that's engaged in that, and it's corruption, public corruption. P.O.C. It's 7:32 a.m. License 58558G4 8T71900. This is the same entity that was stalking at the bus stop this morning. They were acting in concert. License 26735 Edward 4. License 7JCZ411. Omnitrans is gang stalking, Route 83, and the fake sun remained here the whole time. Bus number 2503, heavy-set African-American male, license 1234705, driving south on Euclid Avenue, and that fake sun stays right here. I'm going to prosecute. That's a state actor. They're doing the same thing that these demons, 8MZU544, in their in these little puppets vehicles while they're gang stalking. License 9TIK299. You're going to look at the evidence of Tracy Banks gang stalking me with the state while the fake sun moves as I move while I'm in her vehicle with license 4WON432. License 9HUZ740. The entity is engaged in what is targeting me, as I've shown you the scientific impossibility that the natural environment includes the rapid movement, that dynamic light source that's hovering and remaining over me in vehicles like that, which belongs to Omnitrans. Documented. I'm prosecuting them while I'm staying here, and so is the fake sun. And they're moving away, and they're moving farther and farther from that fake sun. Okay, the entity is engaged in that while I'm also showing you the same pattern. While this city of Ontario, Mike Lorenz, Jason Fields conspiring my murder as an entity, and Tracy Banks is gang stalking me as I'm proving in her vehicle. Okay, this is the same with regard to what I'm documenting when I'm far away from Ontario, when they're keeping up a fake sun, and I'm documenting this out in Hesperia, California. Sunrise outside of my hotel room window, in alignment to me at the entrance of that hotel. And the entity's keeping it there until sunset, in alignment with my hotel room window. The pattern of conduct that 9NPC584 and the Ontario International Airport share, targeting. And very unintelligent in doing so. But that unintelligent conduct is speaking to what is provision in federal court. That impunity is going toward the ongoing determination to murder me that Mike Lorenz shares, to psychologically torture and stalk, until they accomplish that criminal objective that the entity shares. The entity, Ontario International Airport at 7:34 a.m. I just want to go ahead and note something really quickly. Let me go ahead and take a look at that. 1 second. Yeah, the entity is engaged in what is stalking. While I'm looking at the schedule, what was published last night on the Ontario International website. Ontario International Airport website, the flights from the airport, where the entity is hovering over UNICARE Community Health Center. This is East Street in Euclid, under the fake sun, and concert with the people of the state that are engaging in what the perpetual sex offense. It's sexual violence committed by the government through a population, all of them stalking together, conspiring, in other words, to your murder together. 7KUB967 and In and Out. In and Out is engaged in that sexual violence as well. Impossible Light appearing underneath the truck where it should be shade, but they're in Engineer Light gang stalking. In and Out is also gang stalking at all of its establishments. 4UK6732. While In and Out is gang stalking and sharing in that sexual violence. They're doing so also while I'm at the grocery outlet, and the fake sun is on what is Euclid Avenue, at that grocery outlet where the entity is stalking by the Ontario International Airport, where there also are no takeoffs, like what they're doing now, clearly stalking under a fake sun. Okay, pacing in and out of Starbucks. Let me get these license plates. All right, this is a male with an effeminate demeanor, gray, long sleeve, gray shirt, perhaps Adidas, license 52391A4, walking in Engineer Light. They're parking in Engineer Light. I'm taking a picture of that right now. It's Impossible Light. 8RSV555, sexual violence, sexual assault and battery. sharing in that criminal act together. License 8DYE672. All right, the entity is going to be deported. All of the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct together. They're pacing in and out of the doors in engineer light. They're driving in it, and they're molesting me on the opposite side of the street. 5239184. That's P.O.C. Alrighty, that's the pattern of conduct, and this is the systematic means. BL35R13 paper, 9LMD686, 86193 Paul 2, UL19193. That's a Sinaloa, Mexico license plate. That would be perhaps deportation. If they're not a natural born citizen, you're going to deport that happily. Deport it out the country. 8PIU118, 9UAZ871. Conspiring the murder with the police department that you're gang stalking, you're going to be deported out of the country. That's what everybody in the city of Ontario is engaging in. Every immigrant resident is sharing in Mike Lorenz's pattern of conduct while they are targeting and furtherance of kidnapping and murder in concert with Jason Isaac Fields. They're going to be deported. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. This is domestic terrorism that Tracy Banks is sharing with the gang stalking government. This is domestic terrorism. You're conspiring murder with the city airport, stalking together, you're going to be deported. Okay, license 8YVX566, 9BWY337. Yeah, license 9KMK371. 9KMK371 is correct. 9BBL667, P.O.C. They're all sex offenders. And this is the entity that is, again, subject to those grand policies that deal with the gang itself. All of the residents that are immigrants. All of the gang stalkers, all the gang violence that's underway by those that are engaging in what is surveillance in the neighborhood. You're talking about what is prosecuting. You're talking about what is prosecution for terrorism. You're talking about being prosecuted as a sex offender while you are subject to that pattern of conduct by that gang violence. Though there are plenty of policies like deportation to deal with gang members, okay, where they think they're overwhelming somebody, which it is. Reasonably, it's overwhelming a person that they intend to murder. But you're going to deport all of those gang members, all of them, okay? And they are all under that fake son. P.O.C. Let me show you the gang members that are going to be deported, and I'm going to prosecute them. Stalking by helicopter. This is in relevant position. The entity is stalking, flying in relevant position while the fake son is right here in alignment to me. The fake son is still in alignment, and they're stalking on the roads and the highways, sharing in that sexual violence. While the entity is stalking by airport, there's no takeoffs here either. That's how you're recognizing the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct, targeting me. This fake son is still here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon while I'm standing over here capturing video of the fake son that's here at what is 7:39 a.m. You have 5 hours later, it's over the top of my head right here at the same location where it's never going to be in Florida. That is, again, Mike Lorenz, whose mental illness is being exposed to the world. Mike Lorenz is of the Nephilim. That entire agency of demons have been engaged in surveillance with the population, and they are immigrants as well. The immigrant population, and though any immigrants that work for the Ontario Police, they're all going to be deported uniformly. All of them. As I'm documenting the pattern of conduct, and Jason Isaac Fields and Mike Lorenz, terrorist leaders like that, they're going to prison. That's the entity stalking me. That's how you're able to dwindle that down. It's not everybody. It's not law enforcement. It's in the specific environment. The fake sun is over me until sunset. I've documented coming out of this same Chevron again after 6 p.m. The Ontario International Airport is stalking. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 7:40 a.m. This is supposed to be over the United States Postal Service. That's how you know that the Ontario Police are stalking me in particular in that scientifically impossible environment with the demons who are molesting. And they committed kidnapping with Starbucks. They're going to prison. Mike Lorenz is going to be prosecuted, going to prison. The impossible light activity is relevant to the Ontario Police who are stalking by helicopters while they're driving in and walking in engineer light. That's what they're doing. The Ontario Police is stalking. Using a helicopter is that which is committed in furtherance of psychological torture and murder. This is P.O.C. Mike Lorenz is going to prison. Jason Isaac Fields are going to prison. Derek Williams, federal prison. He's a part of the pattern of conduct as I started documenting in order to enforce my rights and prove the state's conspiracy to murder me by targeting with psychopaths that are engaged in the P.O.C. It is 5239184 in Starbucks, UNICARE Community Health Center, ARCO, and Chevron, where I'm showing you the fake sun rise until the sunset. Fake sun after 7 p.m. here. Fake sun after 6:45, stalking by plane and helicopter. This is the mentally ill. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, capturing video, as you can hear. The entity is gang stalking by helicopter. That's the very agency that is being prosecuted while the people of the state are engaging in its pattern of conduct. 8BAZ186, rather, excuse me. License plate 480. I can't really see that one. It is also, by the way, 7:41 a.m. It is currently this demon that's engaged in light activity with the Ontario Police Department. This is an old Caucasian woman. She's stalking within the impossible light activity with the Ontario Police and making a purchase in doing so. That's malice. And they engage in that same conduct, license V077EO. This is the entity I'm showing you the impossible light activity where she's engaging in what is relevant to the federal RICO case, doing so with the Ontario Police that are stalking by helicopter. She's sharing what is criminal monitoring. Monitoring is occurring in furtherance of murder. She's doing so under the fake sun that's still here after 6 and 7 p.m. while Starbucks has documented kidnapping me and gang stalking me with their gang stalking customers, the same Nephilim. Okay, that's the P.O.C. That's the same population stalking with impossible light. They're going in and purchasing coffee drinks and engaging in the pattern of conduct in the same manner while the entity is stalking by helicopter. That's the entity that's sharing in what is harassing and terrorizing and psychologically torturing you. That's a basis, by the way, of federal prison. That license plate, she's creating what is peculiarized light under the fake sun. Intentional conduct, psychopathic conduct, while they are targeting together. License again, V077 Edward 0. It is 7:42 a.m. License plate 9VJR602 6NRY 752. License BFW0076 CAM 6. License plate 6SLW368 8ZMU171 8WPD 832. This is P.O.C. And what I documented, again, on video, you'll see the Ontario Police crossing path on the roads and the highways, engaging in federal stalking and furtherance of murder. You'll see them engaging in what is the criminal use of interstate commerce. This is gang stalking, federal stalking by helicopter in the sky space, while the entity is gang stalking with the people of the state. This is surveillance, and they're engaged in monitoring together. Monitoring is surveillance as well. It is inhumane, and it's also proven through the environment where science is going to prosecute the terrorists in that helicopter, the terrorists that are gang stalking at that heliport. The terrorist leader himself, Mike Lorenz, and Derek Williams is going to be criminally liable as well. He retired, and I'm still going to prosecute him for his engagement in kidnapping me and targeting me as the terrorist leader before 2021. 5FAZ591. And Jason Isaac Fields is subject to federal prison for this. License 9DLD381 AGXT079 2NA96P. That is Arizona. And that is I can't really see that license plate. I was looking at another one. License 8ERG165 8UGV555. Wait, 8UGV055, I believe. Remember the entity that's this fake sun here? What is it that they're standing under 3 hours from now at the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library? Because it is across the street. The same street, Euclid Avenue. This is, again, like I stated, under all circumstances, the airport is stalking, the police department is stalking, so is the fire department. They just have not conspicuously crossed path and conspicuously engaged in activity creation. That fire department, which I'm documenting for years, has engaged in what is criminal summoning. They're engaged in surveillance, not firefighting, and that's why Michael GERKEN in that fire department is being removed. They have also committed kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department and American Medical Response, and I've also surrounded them already with evidence of gang stalking in conformity to the same pattern of conduct. That's also why Mike Lorenz and Jason Fields are going to prison. Okay? All of the pattern of conduct is aiding a gang stalking police department in kidnapping you and murdering you ultimately, because they are engaged in what is targeting you, not protecting and serving you. You're going to prison. 34762F2, they are going to federal prison. All routes lead to federal prison for this case that's already secure against that agency and against Mike Lorenz and what would be Jason Fields, acting in furtherance of that conspiracy to target all the lies that they told. And when I wasn't even present, and the lies don't even make any sense, and the lies are pursuant to criminal acts that you already committed, criminal acts that will not be legitimized by gang stalking me. This is requiring corruption by that gang stalking court, the gang stalking court system, in other words. They're going to prison. All routes lead to federal prison, every single last route, including those that engage in kidnapping with that Ontario Police Department. 13188L2, 8ZGA169, 9VIN782. And these demons that I'm documenting, when the entities engaged in kidnapping me, they put these demons in the cells with me to monitor, with the demons of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, with the demons of the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. It's them, the light slinging gargoyles. PERCEL2, 9PPM487. And I've documented that pattern of conduct while they're kidnapping in the fake sun remains over me on the bus to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, where they are molesting my body while laser light is shooting through. Impossible light activity, because that metal mesh on the top of the bus is not going to have any sunlight piercing through it. And it's not going to be perfectly aimed at a downward trajectory, especially when it's remaining, as I documented, surrounding those demons who are engaged in monitoring upon kidnapping, keeping the fake sun over the Starbucks from sunrise until sunset. No, it's not over the bus and creating any sunlight inside of that bus that's fully covered, including with metal mesh where no sunlight is piercing through. Okay, the entities, and certainly not concentrated light that's going to touch all over my breasts and all over my face and my body while those demons are monitoring, while they're on the roads and the highways. But these demons who are gang stalking under the fake sun, 7SVT291, the fake sun that you see moving over me on Omnitrans, in Tracy Banks's vehicles, while I'm in my vehicle and that entity is engaged in surveillance. That is the criminal pattern of conduct shared by the kidnappers, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. And CAM6 is crossing path again. That's a psychopath that's stalking. It's specific because it's the fake sun. That demon took another round. That's psychopathic pacing. They're doing so on behalf of the state in furtherance of murder. Monitoring is not only demonic, it's criminal conduct preceding murder. You're going to be prosecuted for conspiracy to murder. You're not just a stalker, you're a co-conspirator of murder. This is the entity that's engaged in that, and kidnapping was committed by the Sheriff's Department, Shannon Dykes, and the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court presided by this demon, Lisa Rogan, who was going to federal prison, conspiring my death and defaming my character with the agency, Mike Lorenz, that's gang stalking, and Fields gang stalking, the federal government abusing its position with their sex partner like Tracy Banks. Okay, aiding her and targeting me and stealing from me, and them sharing and profiting from stealing from me. These little puppets at the Starbucks are engaging and are incentivized while they're demons, but also while they are being incentivized with regard to targeting me and receiving something in exchange for it. What they're getting is time in prison. Because I'm not playing about Starbucks, and this is not just about my determination. This is precedent. This is federal law. They're going to prison, and I'm not playing about that. That's what I mean. They're going to federal prison. It is 7:48 a.m. They're gang stalking on the inside of that cafe while these demons are molesting outside. They're going to federal prison. They're working against each other. OHZANG license. 8ZZS045 license, 8RIC080 license, 4ZNY396 license, 36298J2 license, 9VBF407 license, 9JXC592 license, 1WP1882, reaching across the aisles to touch me with impossible light. Okay, license 4NYZ669, license 6NYF377, license BAYV536, license. Don't forget where the 6:13 p.m. I'm standing right here. I believe it's June 2025. I'm standing right here. The Ontario Police are stalking on the roads and the highways. At this same intersection, the fake sun is hovering over the roof. It's not even in the sky. It's sitting on the roof of this Starbucks that I'm looking at right now, where these demons are engaged in this conduct. They're already surrounded. I'm going to prosecute, and the entity is going to prison for kidnapping and systematically targeting, like employees of Chevron and ARCO and UNICARE Community Health Center, and demons that like to pace around like CAM6. I've documented you so many times, you're going to find out that you're going to prison. The entity is engaged in the P.O.C, and they're doing so with regard to kidnapping. That's shared by the Sheriff's Department and the courthouse, and they're all demons monitoring. That's the evidence that I've provided with regard to science that's going to put the kidnappers, it's going to remove them from law enforcement, and it's going to put them in prison, where terrorists belong. They are not different from Osama bin Laden. They're called domestic enemies, and they are equally enemies of these United States. License 8SYN267, I believe. It is 7:49 a.m. Jason Isaac Fields is never going to be in my presence. This is a terrorist. This is somebody that thought that he could abuse his power in the government and accomplish my murder. The federal government is engaged in what is prosecutorial suicide. This demon coming into my presence. It's going to be a serious federal offense, not different from his sex partner, Tracy Banks, Eric Spencer, coming into my presence. Those demons are contained. I'm going to prosecute them. They're going to prison. Jason Isaac Fields is one that bears weapons. This is the same threat that the Ontario police pose while they're gang stalking. You're going to federal prison. You're getting more time. You come into my presence. This is being publicly vocalized because if you engage in that unlawful threat, you're going to federal prison. You are no hero, you're no partner, you're a demon, you're a part of the same conspiring entity, you are no friend of mine, I don't care about your relationship, I'm not concerned about that now. You're still engaged in gang stalking, and you are a part of this that I'm remain subject to under the law. You're going to federal prison. License plate 9KGG807, license 9GHK590, license 9DYZ259, 6PEG688, license plate 8UUZ367, and no government actor is going to remove themselves by thinking you're going to report something to the government while you're not even reporting everything, and you're still engaging in that criminal pattern of conduct because you're a witch, because you're a Satan-worshiping witch, and you're thinking that one of these ends are going to work out for you one way or another while you have filthy, filthy, unclean hands. But glory to God, I've been maintaining an investigation that covers the criminal activity of Jason Isaac Fields. He's going to federal prison. He's not getting out of it. License, what is license 9SBH561? P.O.C. All right, reporting to the federal government is relevant. Okay, it may give you less time, but that's not the case with this demon. This is a corrupt terrorist leader that is directly engaged in leading the charge in murdering me and abusing government positions. This is a corrupt government that's engaged in using a machine to kill people and get away with it. Oh no, you're not getting out of prison, Fields. You're going to federal prison where you belong. You're an enemy of this country. You're an incompetent imbecile, a demon. You're the Nephilim, and you think that you're what you're not. You're nothing other than an arrogant idiot stalking under a fake sun, a light-slinging gargoyle that can't control your sexual impulses, and you're going to prison. License 9TEJ442, 9HIB371, license plate 7FYS318. 8WFR692. He's going to federal prison by pure numerosity. All these co-defendants of his, of this agency, stalking you in helicopters and bearing weapons and kidnapping you and making up why they did so, that's the entity that's designed to murder you. Oh, there's nothing that's going to help a corrupt government actor like Jason Isaac Fields. He's going to federal prison. It remains relevant, but what also remains relevant is the fact that that American citizen suffers whatever it is that they're suffering. Because of you, you're not getting out of, you're delusional as everyone knows that you are as a light-slinging gargoyle. You're going to prison. You are going to prison. You're going to federal prison. Mike Lorenz is still gang stalking. You're going to federal prison. It is 7:53 a.m. This is P.O.C. Jason Isaac Fields, this entity, LAPD, Ontario Police, engaged in what is putting my genitalia on the internet. They're going to federal prison. These demons that are stalking me and going into bathrooms, obsessively monitoring me, doing so having seen my nude body that I never consented, Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison. This is a sex offender engaging what is stealing from me by maintaining a fraudulent marriage while maintaining a sexual, this is a psychopath, having sex with my mother figure and then sexually obsessed with me, engaging in sex rituals and homosexuality while putting my nudity on the internet, going into my home in Los Angeles, going into my hotel rooms to engage in placing cameras while these demons watch me on the internet while they're gang stalking. 9SAG914, you're going to federal prison. That's sex trafficking. Remember, upon facts of federal group stalking and monitoring, that's sex trafficking upon gang stalking. They sex traffic you before they murder you. You're going to prison. You psychopath, you're going to prison. You pervert, you're going to federal prison. 9AKF395. The masses aware of your genitalia while they're also going in the bathroom to keep it under surveillance with the sex offender Mike Lorenz, you're going to prison. You're going to federal prison, to be exact. You're going to be subject to what are mental examinations. Because that's the harm regarding the light-slinging gargoyles in the state of California. 8SNH271. They all share in sex trafficking. This is gang violence. The government that's engaged in sex trafficking, this is what they all engage in, and they are all aware of it, and they all watch you on the internet. This is the Nephilim. They're violent sex offenders. They have sex with kids. They're rapists. They engage in what is witchcraft to steal your consent and have sex with you when you would not otherwise engage in sexual activity with them. A lot of that is witchcraft, spiritually attacking you. The entity is engaging in what is putting me on the internet, obsessed with my body, obsessed with my genitalia, placing cameras so that they can all, as an entity that's gang stalking me, also watch me inside of my home, unbeknownst to me, putting it on the internet, making money, defaming my character, and this demon thinks because he's a psychopath and he's delusional, he's going to prison. Okay, he's going to federal prison. He lost his mind when he had sex about the 750th time, whatever. His mind is gone, he's going to federal prison. This is a sexual psychopath. This is a serial killer. This is the Nephilim. And he will never come into my presence. It will be an intensified sentencing regarding prison. If Jason Isaac Fields ever comes into my presence, this is somebody that has threatened my life, and you will never be in my presence outside of serving more time in prison. 9FCM271 is the reason why. P.O.C. 7MWL156. P.O.C. It's currently 7:55 a.m. Remember, the entity has the fake sun outside of the United States Postal Service. That's my latest example of the entity keeping that fake sun in a totally different location. So then what are they driving under? And what is that fleeing off of their car? What is that's inside of the United States Postal Service on the floor while you focus your attention on the self-service system machine in the inside of the post office? Those are psychopaths that are stalking with light, just like they are now. Okay, and remember, while it's at the United States Postal Service, the evidence already shows that Starbucks wanted to be documented as a terrorist, keeping a fake sun in alignment to me, over me that is, from 6:33 in the morning until after 7 p.m. in the evening, okay? While then it's going to be at the United States Postal Service. That's the entity that's gang stalking, while somehow they fit in the fact that it's over the top of my head when I'm at this Bethel congregation on this same block that I'm looking at right now 5 hours later at what is 536 North Euclid Avenue. That's what's relevant to sexual violence while you're being unnecessarily touched by stalkers who are taking the path that they take to cross paths with you while they're monitoring you, and they're psychopaths doing so under things like a fake sun. They're mentally ill. Doing things with impossible light, they're mentally ill. Doing things as a population to target one person who they like to watch on the internet and masturbate, engage in sex rituals and pedophilia to, they're mentally ill. 8ZGW165. This is the Nephilim. This is the Nephilim. License plate 33916Y1. This is P.O.C. It's 7:57 a.m. And I'm also at what is, remember, the Stater Brothers parking lot. That video shows that fake sun. This is not anywhere near remotely close to where it is over me at Stater Brothers, where they're monitoring my vagina in the bath and maintaining loud boom, boom, booming because they're obsessed with my vagina, the vagina that they placed on the internet, for which demons like those of the LAPD, of the Ontario Police Department, and Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are going to prison for sex trafficking upon gang stalking. You're doing prison time, federal prison time, because it's sexual violence that's pursuant to the person that they plan to murder. These are all the atrocious crimes that they commit as an entity before they murder you. You're going to prison. License 9GDZ860. And these demons, the people of the state, it's going on their criminal record. It's going on their criminal record. They commit these sex acts, they commit this criminal system as an entity. Demon, the state of California can't do it without this demon 9GDZ860 gang stalking at Euclid and East Street. Can't do it without him. It is 7:58 a.m. by the way. Alrighty, license plate 93522W1 DST. That's in Corona, California. Corona, California is a gang stalker. License plate 8GHC184. And that's a gang stalking company. License 9GTW039, mental illness exhibited by stalking with light, which they all share in 8DTB964. They're all under the fake sun. Remember, it's over the United States Postal Service, and it's also on the opposite side of all of them at the Stater Brothers parking lot, 7:45 a.m. Don't forget that video I captured. Hovering over the habit while I'm looking at it, and you're looking at that light underneath the structure of that Stater Brothers, that's not this. While they are driving, and that's supposed to be sunlight coming toward my body while you're driving south on Euclid Avenue at the same time. It's at the USPS, and it's at the Stater Brothers. They're all mentally ill. This stalking with light conduct gives you direct indication regarding their mental illness and their malicious criminal system. License 06621Y1. All of the immigrants. We have enough terrorists. All the immigrants, that's an easy way to get rid of tons and tons of them. You're going to deport the mentally ill who are sex offenders, who are stalkers, conspirators to murder. They're serial killers, all right? And they come to this country to engage in targeting American citizens with the U.S. government. Oh, you're going right back to wherever Mr. Trump sends you. You're getting out, though. J176H1, J176H1. They are sharing in that. They're exhibiting mental illness right now while I'm showing you how you are able to have the proof of it. This fake sun, this stalking conduct, this malicious behavior, this demented activity that they're engaging in while they are all doing so, again, as beady-eyed little demons thinking that you don't know what they're doing. They're mentally ill. They're psychopaths. And they're already surrounded. And so you're looking at the malice behind stalking somebody with light. It's an intentional act. And it's that which demons do. Their demonic activity is going to get them committed. It's going to get them committed. P.O.C. License plate 8VVV051 6TGA205 6JZN122. TAB 453. Alrighty, it is currently 8:01 a.m. Here we go. 9NDE431, SVGFURY, 6XTY069. And I want to go ahead and document. It's 8:01 a.m. That's 9:01 a.m. during daylight savings time. The entity's keeping the fake sun over me at this Starbucks during daylight savings time. 7:15 a.m. they commit kidnapping. The fake sun is still here over me while I'm facing the Starbucks. That's not the natural environment. That's just one example. I have it until after 7 p.m. These demons are going to prison while they're targeting. 29686 handicap, license 9AAN855. And you're going to civilly and criminally prosecute with regard to gang stalking establishments like Starbucks, who engage in that pattern of conduct. With the government, this is where that false sense of security and confidence, where you just make up allegations. Oh, you're just gonna make up stuff, huh? That's okay. That's relevant. I'm going to prosecute you with that. We're going to recall those lies. We're going to revisit because I've been documenting the entire time, and I'm the one that has to maintain a competent investigation and prove that the government is not only corrupt, but they're a bunch of demons who are psychopathic and engage in serial killing regularly as a part of covering up their corruption. Not only that, I'm going to prosecute the puppets that they're gang stalking me with, and everybody's going to prison. Everybody that is shared in kidnapping me, they're all going to prison. It is currently 8:02 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and capture that fake sun. This is what L. Edwards, A. Casada. This is what Alex Escobar, very heavily documented gang stalking. He's going to prison. But nonetheless, he's not going to prison any less seriously than everybody else under the fake sun. It's just that I have substantial evidence of Alex Escobar being a demon, gang stalking while wearing a police uniform. You're going to prison. Gang stalking police officers equals federal prison plus mental examinations. I want you to see that fake sun while the Ontario International Airport is stalking. You'll see it. I'm capturing it right now at 8:03 a.m. 9:03 a.m. during daylight savings time. 9:03 a.m. where the entity has the fake sun, where that same airport is gang stalking me at this same exact location where I'm standing. 1 o'clock, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's the entity that's gang stalking, and Jason Fields is going to prison. So is Mike Lorenz. So is Derek Williams. So are the kidnappers of the Starbucks. P.O.C. The entities engaging in that same targeting conduct, as I refer to stalking by UPS, they in real time engage in that. That's the mentally ill that are light slinging gargoyles. They're not very bright, and this is going in a courtroom to prove a pattern of conduct that mandates federal prison. Mandates it. P.O.C. 8NLN700. This is P.O.C. And it's currently 8:04 a.m. Let me turn that off. Oh, yeah, it's 8:04 a.m. I'm doing something on the internet at the same time. License plate 9HDL914. While the government is stalking by plane and helicopter, that's whose pattern of conduct this belongs to when the population is engaged in what is terrorism and psychological torture, stalking you with things like engineered light. Because that's not sunlight, while I'm showing you placing the light source at clearly distinct places, even in different state, city, and county. And that would also be state. In Las Vegas, Nevada, during daylight savings time, the fake sun's over me at 7:49 a.m. The entity is not, this is irreconcilable. They are, with regard to proving that the government is stalking, that's already established. It's already established. And the fact, in other words, that they're demons. And the significance of what it is that I've shown you, what they're doing in that environment, is relevant to targeting. That's how you're getting to every aspect of that pattern of conduct as I have demonstrated it to you. While I'm showing you and describing that, it's not a coincidence in that environment, and it's not a coincidence that they do so as a population without any sort of meeting about we're going to do this or we're going to do that in a specific environment, while you're talking about which is defying nature. NASA itself in the court talking about, yeah, that's not what the sun does. Basically, to put it in layman's terms, that's not what the sun does. License RL4A4V. The entity is gang stalking. It's currently 8:05 a.m., 8:30, 8:24 a.m., 8:25 a.m., 8:30 a.m., 9:15, 9:47, 9:50, 9:55, November 10th. This is just an example regarding what it is that I'm taking a screenshot of the departures from the Ontario International Airport that is engaged in what is targeting. The entity is engaged in targeting in addition to what is proven by the specific environment where the demon possessed are molesting. Okay, license the Crane guys. The Crane guys are sex offenders. License 7LAZ809, and they're also demons. The Crane guys are engaged in the P.O.C. They're doing so under the fake sun. It's 8:06 a.m. So is Transport U.S. They're engaged in the sex offense, and I documented those demons targeting, and they're doing so with Hardik. Hardik it goes by the name of Harry. That's the name on his name tag, however, and inside of Chevron at 506 North Euclid Avenue, who's engaged in this sexual violence together. I documented him. I'm going to go ahead and recite that license plate on this podcast. He's being prosecuted. He's subject to deportation if he's not a natural-born citizen. 7 Xavier, Indiana, Yolanda 347 at 506 North Euclid Avenue. Stalking in the path while a population of thousands of people are gang stalking. He's stalking in the path with the demons that are on the property while Chevron's making money off of gang stalking while engaging in a sex offense and terrorism. And Chevron is hosting the pattern of conduct with the same population of demons at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock in the evening, when the airport, when the police department, when the population of demons are gang stalking me with that corrupt business, that terrorist Chevron, who's going to be prosecuted accordingly. It's also a federal RICO case. It is 8:07 a.m. ARCO, the black Volvo, that's the particular demon that is gang stalking as well. And that ARCO employee is systematically engaged in that pattern of conduct. And that ARCO employee's license plate, as I documented it, it is license plate 9 Thomas, Indiana, Henry 520, P.O.C. They are systematically engaging the P.O.C. with all of the business that the entity is speaking to, being prosecuted for, the numerosity regarding targeting you and conspiring your murder with all of the gang stalkers. Again, the entity doing so with the Ontario Police, gang stalking, crossing path under the fake sun, like I've been documenting them for years. They're doing so as the same mentally ill population of demons. Sex offenders stalking, monitoring my vagina. That's what, for example, the demons are doing at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library under the fake sun, where A. Casada and her gang stalking partners are there at 6 in the evening under the fake sun. They're at 10 o'clock, 10:42 in the morning under the fake sun, and 9:55 under the fake sun. And she's there at 12:14 p.m. under the fake sun. They're there at 1:07 p.m. under the fake sun. They're there gang stalking me crossing path at 4:07 p.m. under the fake sun. They're there gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square under the fake sun after 6 p.m. They're going to federal prison. They're demons. They're the Nephilim. And Mike LORENZ is going to prison for the pattern of conduct of gang stalking, which is committed to furtherance of murder. That's the criminal conduct. That's the purposes of Tracy Banks. That's the purpose of defaming my character. That's the purpose of stalking as a police department in a malicious manner. That's the purpose of this psychological torture of stalking under things like light objects and with engineered light while you're harassing someone obsessively and monitoring their vagina in bathrooms, stalking them in places like bathrooms, using helicopters. That's committed to furtherance of murder. You're going to prison. That entire agency is being disbanded. So this is P.O.C. They're doing so with every business. I'm documenting Starbucks, UNICARE Community, ARCO, and Chevron because this is the intersection where I'm at right now, where the entity's keeping the fake sun based on where I'm at. That's why at the same time the entity has the fake sun over the Ontario Town Square, because it's based on where I'm at, not the natural environment. Otherwise, the sun would be at a distance where also, we wouldn't even see it. And the entity, it keeps the fake sun at such a low hovering elevation where the entity is engaged in what is stalking with that fake sun. And it wouldn't be at this intersection if it was the natural environment. It wouldn't be at this intersection if it was actually over the Stater Brothers right now. It wouldn't be over this intersection if it was over the United States Postal Service right now. It wouldn't be over this intersection if it was in Fontana while I'm at the Fontana Metrolink train station on the bus headed to Fontana, as there is a body of evidence. It wouldn't be at this intersection if it was a natural environment and outside of my living room window at 1806 apartment number 6 at Alvarado Gardens, where speaker companies gang stalked me with the state of California in furtherance of murdering me, targeting me in the workplace, for which Mike LORENZ, Jason Isaac Fields, Tracy Banks, Derek Williams, they're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. This is all right, sexual assault and battery, license 51571W3, Transport U.S. This is a heavy set Latino male with a tattoo, looks like on the back of his neck. Yeah, a tattoo on the back of his neck, driving Transport U.S. This is a sex offender, and so is Transport U.S. License 51571W3 under the fake sun at and gang stalking at gas stall number 6. It's van number 528. License plate 9KCY 229, impossible light shooting toward me in front of this demon's vehicle while they're stalking with Transport U.S. as I document them. This is mental illness that this third party 9KCY 229 is exhibiting, and the evidence of the fake sun being over me at this gas station 5 hours from now is the evidence of them stalking and exhibiting mental illness. License 9BWU 156, gang stalking with heartache, a potential immigrant who's going to be subject to deportation under all circumstances. 7XIY 347. This is P.O.C. And the entity is stalking with the fake sun, and the entity is doing so, remember, the kidnapping that's underway, the gang stalking inside of Starbucks, the fake sun set at this same intersection, the entity stalking by helicopter and by airport. This is all the coexisting evidence regarding everybody that I documented right now, 45026X1, and they are putting what are terrorist leaders, Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams, Jason Arthur Fields, to note, because LAPD is a part of this pattern of conduct. Dominic Choi is engaged in what is being a terrorist leader, gang stalking me in Los Angeles, and that's subject to federal prison. Just because I left LA because they were gang stalking in the workplace in furtherance of murder. The same pattern of conduct. That's federal prison. Just want to be clear on that, and I am covering the case against Dominic Choi while I'm in Ontario, California, subject to the P.O.C. All right, 9TIH520 is ARCO, who is gang stalking. P.O.C. It is currently, like I stated, 8:12 a.m. where the entity is stalking with another plane. I took a picture of a screenshot going to be uploaded to the Google Drive, 8:12 a.m. There are no planes, first of all, that are taking off from the airport. That's going to include hovering. And especially where the airport is specifically behind the amphitheater where UPS is hovering, there certainly is no cause to be hovering over the parking lot, moreover, at a height and elevation. And how are you even getting that angle when you're landing behind the Ontario Town Square amphitheater, like UPS is engaging in? Unintelligent demons that don't have an ability to make consistent and make logical, which is criminal targeting. United Rentals gang stalking with the airport and the police. License plate looks like the same demon I documented. 3443086, the Indiana plate. United Rentals is a long-term documented gang stalker, conspiring my murder and targeting me as a corrupt business in furtherance of what is kidnapping and murder with that agency. License plate. They're driving off as I walk into the parking lot, and that fake sun moves as I walk into the parking lot. 5UCR830. I took a picture of United Rentals right now at 8:13 a.m. That's where you'll find it at the Google Drive. Alrighty, P.O.C. It is, like I stated, 8:13 a.m. All right, the airport, United Rentals, all the demons whose license plates I'm reading. The entity is engaged in what is maintaining light activity. That is a peculiarized light method of flashing light. This is the pattern under the fake sun, and it is specific. That's why the fake sun is over me while I'm encountering this demon who's gang stalking in an aisle, maintaining light activity in the path. That's the outward demonstration of mental illness. That's the identification of a stalker as well, and for you to be able to recognize demons. 5NKW142, and it doesn't matter whether they're unloading groceries out of their car while they turn their hazards on, where they're engaging in something like driving in slow motion because they have dangerous cargo while they have their hazard lights on. These are demons that are engaging in stalking together, and they're engaging in what is methods of flashing of light under what is not even the sun while they're monitoring. Monitoring is psychopathic behavior. License plate 9GXZ364, and it's the conspiracy to murder someone where the government's doing it with the population. 8TJA082. And this is where the airport is stalking, progressing in their movement north and south. That train activity is with this demon that's stalking with flashing of light as I go toward it. That's why it started right now. 9JQX766, gang stalking, housing authority. That's demonic, by the way. That's also an indication regarding everybody's mental illness. These are demons. Their mental illness is shown through the environment. That's not the Union Pacific train. That's not even the sun. And those are not takeoffs from the airport, as I'm just able to show you several videos like the demons saw me do. And that's just a preview as to how I'm going to demolish them in court. I'm going to demolish them. In addition to show that they're absolute psychopaths stalking me with planes, using an airport with things like under a fake sun. 383 PCU, and let me show you the fake sun to show you how they are targeting. Because this is P.O.C. The fake sun moves as I move. It's no longer over the intersection where all those demons, hundreds and hundreds of them that are crossing paths with me, and I documented a sample of them who are gang stalking. 8WLR798, 8NAX015. This is impossible light that's on the ground while you're engaged in what is using a business. Graymar Environmental Services is a gang stalking business, conspiring murder, engaging in surveillance with the state, who's providing complementary audible activity, amplified train, license 7NBS390, 7K60318. 8YGA257, 8DWN034. Don't forget the entities keeping the fake sun over the United States Postal Service. Where I am, looking at my shadow appearing, and this is a psychopath. You hear him closing doors? That's a psychopath monitoring with noise as I move. That's what monitoring is. Your movements coexisting with the engineer light that's all around you that you're not supposed to be aware of. You're covered in light, you're surrounded by light, you're in a whole fake environment, and demons are monitoring. That is every move you make, everything you do on your device. Noise, presence, light. Noise, presence, light, simultaneously monitoring you. That's a psychopath that's engaged. Understand that that's literally, that's the gargoyle. That's a psychopath, psycho. It's a population of them. Satan doesn't want you to know that they're here, and they are here, and they are serial killers. HL562 handicap. And they're making up a whole agency. That agency is being shut down. 7XEV 788, the Ontario, they're being shut down. License plate. This is the Chiropractic Health Center, United Chiropractic Health Center under the fake sun at 8:17 a.m. EG15Z10, stalking in the path and doing so under the fake sun that's over the United States Postal Service at the same time, okay? But not in the natural environment. Proving stalking, that's what that's relevant to. This is a white male. Let me show you this demon's face. This is a psychopath, turning that ignition off. That's a psychopath, that's a demon that's conspiring my murder. Okay, you don't have to know Satan because Satan knows who you are. And Satan's knowledge is proven through that demonic environment. Okay, license plate. 8 Frank Apple Frank 474 P.O.C. The serial stalker that's always engaged in vagina monitoring with the same agency, sleeping out the healthcare, the United Center Healthcare, United Chiropractic Health Center, gang stalking with the demons with the airport. He's engaged in criminal summoning. He's routinely stalking. He doesn't have anywhere to sleep outside. He's going to be sleeping in a federal cell, though. He's going to prison, so he won't have to worry about having shelter because he's going to prison. I'm referring to the one that is engaged, looking like a wolf, very psychopathic, always looking to the side, heavy, tall male, a lot of facial hair. I'll take an image of him. Well, actually, I already took an image of him. I will refer that image with regard to serial stalker. I've already done that, but I'm going to document it again. License plate 8RWJ466. That is stalking by Sarah's Regis while the fake sun moves over me. Just departing from that intersection, just no longer there over me, moving as I move. Okay? So Omnitrans drives at about 40 miles per hour. That fake sun moves at the speed of that bus while I'm on it at whatever seat I'm on that bus. As I'm walking at this speed limit, as I sit stationary, so does that fake sun. That's why it's here over me at this library yesterday at 1 o'clock. As I come to the entrance, and it did not put itself over the entrance at 10 o'clock while I sat at the Ontario Town Square, showing you pictures of it not being over that entrance. But it's over me at the entrance at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a white male that's gang stalking. That's a demon. That's a business in the alley gang stalking. That's an airport that's gang stalking. Those are businesses, airlines that are gang stalking. That's the government that's conspiring your murder, while all of that is concentrated on stalking, proven through that scientific impossibility of the sun being anywhere near you, being even in the state of Florida, like I stated. It's not even in any other location in California while I'm showing you the fake sun. Why? Because the natural environment has one sun. And these idiots have a fake sun over me showing you what's going on in the rest of the country. They're not just corrupt, they're absurdly psychotic. You have a comprehensive system when you're doing this under things like a fake sun and a fake moon and an engineer light. The demon possessed are engaged in systematically murdering people and making it look like something else. Mike LORENZ is going to prison. Derek Williams is going to federal prison for his share in engaging in that. And you don't cease to be engaging in. He's still a part of the gang stalking community. You're going to prison for your role as a terrorist leader, however. You're not getting out of there. There's no resigning out of it. There's no retiring out of it. You're going to prison. There is no talking to the federal government. Jason Fields, you're going to federal prison. License 8HKP318, 8RSV553, P.O.C. The fake sun's in the same position that it is yesterday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's not even 8 o'clock yet. Oh, excuse me, it's 8:20 a.m. It's 8:20. I captured the image of that. You've already seen that. I captured it the day before. It was over here at 1 o'clock. I'm capturing it, remember, while I'm here it's like 8:05 in the morning. I captured it. That's what's happening right now. This is the juxtaposition showing you stalking by a population, and I read a lot of license plates right now, and them and more are going to be prosecuted. I'm prosecuting the state, but I like to specifically document in real-time evidence because I want you to be able to go through and look at it. I want you to identify. You can look at their license plates. You can look at their images. You can look at the information that I publish because you need to see real-time terrorists and those who are the Nephilim, the demon-possessed. You know somebody in California, you know where I'm at. She read, what's the license plate? Is that who I think? You can look it up yourself. Yeah, look it up. Because you need to know who they are. License plate 9POM300. They are a society of demons. They're a society of stalkers. They're a society of psychopaths. Okay, that's a matter to be clinically addressed, but that's something that medical professionals, legitimate ones that are not a part of this corrupt system will confirm, based on the behavior that is proven as a pattern of conduct, not some rumor amongst gang members who are defaming somebody together as a part of their targeting system. Okay? This is one person surrounding all of them. You know why? Because numerosity cannot change idiocy. Numerosity, a whole bunch of ignorant, a whole bunch of inferior spirits, a whole bunch of unintelligent bullies. You rely on the demons of that Ontario police. Well, what are you going to do when the Ontario police are going to prison? Because that's where they're going. Then what are you going to do? Now what are you going to do? You feel strong and mighty now? Because that's not being strong and mighty in the first place. Where I'm from, what I understand, you're a punk. That's some punk material. That's a punk. While you're sitting here stalking a woman, you call yourself a man because you're blasting Tupac? That makes you strong and tough? That's not what I understand. And I don't think Tupac would like being disrespected like that. By having some pansy blasting their music to monitor like a demon, a gargoyle, a woman that they're stalking obsessively. I don't think that's what he was playing his music about. That's not what he was speaking about. That's not what he represents. At least that's not how he represented himself. I didn't know the man personally. But I don't think it's giving good ode. It's audible activity of light-slinging gargoyles who would like to be gangster, but they're not. That's why they're all together gang stalking me, climbing up into helicopters, gassing them up, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars stalking me. They get up, waking up in the morning thinking about me. They obsess all night thinking about what did I put on the internet. They go around sounding their sirens not because of anything other than because of me. It's all about me. There's nothing gangster about that at all. It's pathetic. That's Satan. That is Satan. Satan who is very much fearful of the ones that threaten him, because the ones that threaten him are the ones that know what he's up to, the ones that will not compromise, the ones that will speak up. And you engaged in kidnapping me, that's not going to stop it. That's going to intensify it. In fact, the demons that engaged in seeking to obstruct justice, they're going to prison for even longer because you're not going to stop it. Now you're not getting out of prison at a time that you would have had you not engaged in what is obstructing justice for years at a time. You're going to prison. As clearly as you hear me articulating it, because you're listening right now in real time at what is 8:24 a.m. when I publish this on the internet while you play it back again, obsessing over me and the tone of my voice. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison. And there's no energetic work. There's no tarot card reading. There's no spirit, sex ritual. There's no spell work that's going to get you out of it. You're going to federal prison. That's the long and short of it. And these puppets out here that don't know when to sit down, that don't have any self-control, that don't have any measure regarding an intelligence quotient, since you don't have an actual system, an organized one, you just engage in chaos. I'm prosecuting each and every one of you as you engage in your chaotic behavior together. P.O.C. The entities engaged in criminal summoning with Brightview, with Carlos, gang stalking with the Ontario police, pulling up at the entities, OVITT Family Community Library. This is all based on fear of me. They were stalking all night long by helicopter. They're doing so, pulling up at the OVITT Family Community Library under the fake sun. This is the pattern of conduct. It's pathetic. This is the entity, they're going to prison. You have Robert Rivera over here gang stalking. You have Carlos. You have the overweight Latino male who's been adding himself into the conspicuous stalking conduct on the Ontario Town Square, doing so under the fake sun. And they just listen to me document all the people of the state. They listen to me provide all that analysis, and they're doing so at the Ontario Town Square at what is 8:25. That's 9:25 during daylight savings time. They're doing so while the fake sun's remaining over the United States Postal Service, and they're doing so while they are gang stalking in the same exact manner, using the resources of a corrupt police department, doing so while they are very much fearful. While demons and the demon-possessed engage in that which is fearful, while they listen to the truth about what you speak, they engage in moral conduct that threatens American citizens. That's what's revelatory, that's what's relevant, that's what's necessary regarding action, regarding the demon-possessed psychopaths that are gang stalking. Okay, so that's what you need to pick up on. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:25 a.m. This is the entity that's gang stalking under that fake sun. I'm going to go ahead and document that as well. Let's see. This is relevant. I want to be clear. Jason Isaac Fields is going to prison. This is literally their tactic. Jason Isaac Fields sought to kidnap me, and the tactic is that they engage in more and more stalking conduct as you document, because the pattern is that the more harassment you engage in, the more psychological torture you commit, the more you are able to break somebody down and get them to do whatever it is that you want them to do, such as succumb to your witchcraft. It stopped documenting and you want them to do, such as succumb to your witchcraft. It stopped documenting and be able to be framed for being mentally ill or something. Literally, I'm going to use something retarded like that. That is, again, these demons that are inept, these demons that are corrupt, these demons that are engaging in what is bullying people and then thinking that they can gang stalk their way out of that, gang stalk American citizens into medical facilities. And actually what's going to happen is that they're going to prison. They're going to federal prison for targeting. So I want to get this right here. I'm going to take pictures of, this is Robert Rivera. This is Carlos. They're gang stalking just like they are every other day. And they know that they're being captured right now. These are demons, okay? They're under a fake sun. The fake sun is at the Ontario Town Square where it's present in the evening. This is where the airport is stalking. This is where the Ontario Police Department are stalking, and they're engaged in criminal summoning at the OVITT Family Community Library. They are stalking me. That's why the fake sun, as I just captured now, is going to move as I move to go capture the demons of the Ontario Police Department. This is called conspicuous stalking, as I'm explaining to you for you to understand the pattern of conduct. The Securitas security guard, he engaged in kidnapping with that entity, with the Ontario Police. They're going to federal prison. They're gang stalking right now together as well. This is giving context regarding every criminal offense that this entity commits as an entity in the specific environment, okay? This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:27 a.m. The fake sun's moving as I move. The fake sun's doing, that's a serial stalker. I've been documenting him routinely. They're targeting together with the Ontario Police Department. This is Mickey, who's gang stalking. She's intentionally the path. She's deriving pleasure out of gang stalking. She's going to prison. All right, that's the time and fun. Here's the fake sun. This is what the entity's doing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is the fake sun. And don't forget, yesterday, Amazon, that's gang stalking, taking the same path that Mickey is in the opposite. And the fake sun is reflecting off of this window right here. And where it's present over me right now at 8:28 a.m. I'll attach that video for you. That was after 4 p.m. Mickey's gang stalking. She's doing so while in the evening. She's on video after 5 p.m. And this fake sun is in alignment to me at computer station number 1. And she's walking on injury light just like she is now. She's a mentally ill psychopath engaged in targeting, not coincidentally present with the Ontario Police. That's a communication with that, and she's going to federal prison. She could walk over there. That's what the entity does with a helicopter flying in that direction. They're stalking under the fake sun. Okay, that is not over the United States Postal Service. It's not going to be reflecting off of the back of the windshields of the demons that are at that United States Postal Service. And this is moving in the same manner that it is at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's still here. That's the entity stalking by helicopter. These are demons that have vowed to go to prison, because that's where Mike LORENZ is going. He's going to federal prison. This is a pattern of conduct. These are demons engaging in what is conspicuous stalking, P.O.C, criminal summoning. And this is demonic. Helicopter activity, fake sun. License 1591755, vehicle 1023. They're going to prison. License plate 169763. I can't get the rest of it. But I want to be clear, Mickey's going to prison too. That's the entity stalking, right? That's the entity engaging in what is stalking right there, crossing path in the sky space, the same exact pattern of conduct. Let me go ahead and zoom in so you can see that. That's the same exact pattern of conduct while the entity is engaging aerial surveillance, while stalking in engineer light, engaging what is a traffic stop. This is what they're doing, by the way, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in June of 2025. Crossing path with the people. They don't have to talk to each other. This is what connects them. This is the pattern of conduct. These are demons. This is the Nephilim that's going to be deported. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct. The entity has the fake sun as I'm walking out yesterday, and Dylan is molesting under that which is not the sun. So it's reflecting off the doors. It's 8:30, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 8 hours from now, which is the fake sun that the demon possessed, that are wearing police uniforms, are wearing with regard to conspicuously stalking. And they're centering their attention around the demon-possessed people of the state, while engineer light is on the ground, not sunlight. They're monitoring. And at the venue where the entity keeps the fake sun after 4 p.m. for Dylan of Securitas, who was a gang stalker, also a demon, to engage in the sex offense of molesting with impossible light, while the entity has the fake sun still at this location. This is engineer light, where you could see my shadow appearing upon that signage. Let me zoom in for you as I walk by. This is impossible light activity. While my shadow is being projected forward, I'm being molested with impossible light. This is impossible light, so you can see my hand moving across. This is impossible light while demons want to be taken seriously. They're gang stalking. They're gang stalking while the entity is keeping the fake sun. I want to be clear, over the Ontario United States Postal Service at 1555 East Holt. That's not this. It's also not going to be over what is at 9:16 a.m. It's currently 8:31. So 9:16 a.m. it would still be over the Ontario Airport Inn Hotel, where the demon possessor is stalking with impossible light like this. The entity is stalking with aerial surveillance. They're doing so as a form of what is hostility, as I documented at Starbucks, where they committed kidnapping as demons under a fake sun, and they're doing so license 1706919. They're going to federal prison. So is Jason Fields. So he's going to federal prison. These demons that are engaging in conspicuous stalking like this is relevant to psychological torture, and you are not engaging in any profitable acts on camera, where it's going to be in court, where you engage in what is proven to be criminal defamation as demons who engage in stalking in plain view in what is engineered light, not naturally light conduct, and also it's not even the sun, when their mental illness is put at the forefront and they center their attention on a third party who are engaged in gang stalking on their behalf inside of venues like this. In fact, this is the demon gang stalking with Corey Walton at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue while she's gang stalking on what is Laurel and Euclid in the vehicle under the fake sun. That's federal prison. She's going to federal prison. She's routinely been targeting and stalking with impossible light, including inside of that Starbucks. This is mental illness. This is public corruption. This is P.O.C. She's gang stalking with Corey Walton. She's going to prison. You're walking in the engineer light. You're under the fake sun. This is P.O.C. This is demonic. They're monitoring just like the people of the state. Driving under engineer light will never cause light to sling off of your car. It's not going to hit the building. It's not going to appear and manifest in the shade. And they're doing that while they wear uniforms. They're being disbanded. And Mike Lorenz's pattern of conduct is proven by the gang stalking conduct, the demons that wear police uniforms in Ontario, committing kidnapping while they're engaged in criminal surveillance. And this demon, while the fake sun's reflecting, don't forget that, because it's still here while Amazon is gang stalking after 4 p.m. P.O.C. They're all going to prison. They're all mentally ill. They're gang stalking with the people who are demons that are slinging light around like them. Their mental illness is on the forefront, just like those fake badges where they don't have authority under the law, where they all look down and look to the left and the right because they're mentally ill demons that are exposed. They're going to prison for gang stalking. This is P.O.C. She's pacing while she walks to the car and walks back in the engineer light. This is mental illness. This is that psychopathic pacing. That's the pattern of conduct. Walking in the engineer light, she's monitoring. Okay, she's going to prison for gang stalking with the Corey Walton. They're doing so under the fake sun. The Starbucks that has the fake sun after 7 p.m. The entity's environment is the entity that's exposing the malice behind the targeting by corrupt police departments who are all over here stalking under the fake sun. You see them now after 4 p.m. stalking me by helicopter while this fake sun is right here over me after 4 p.m. And you can look to the left and the right all you want. Science is going to put them in prison, and they're also going to be subject to mental examinations. This is the pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging what is targeting you, and then engaging in what is that targeting conduct, and that's what they would formally rely on, because I'm showing you that's not the practice of medicine, and it certainly is not the practice of law when you're looking at hardcore evidence of targeting under all circumstances, and it includes that which is shown through the environment, even when they're gang stalking with the people not talking to you and not addressing you. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is gang violence. They're doing the same thing at 1 o'clock in the afternoon where the fake sun, not the natural environment, will still be present. This is P.O.C. And like I stated, the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct in this same manner at the venue, but also Corey Walton gang stalking with her at Starbucks at 507 at 6:33 in the morning, doing so in the readily identifiable environment. With gang stalkers, Mickey, going out of her way to cross paths. All of this is tied together with regard to malice. That's the pattern of conduct. 280 North Limit Apartments routinely engaged in targeting with the Ontario International Airport after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, you talk about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's reflecting off of the doors. It's still here while I'm capturing the P.O.C. at the Ontario Town Square. These are the demons that are stalking me. While they engage in conspicuous stalking, you're going to prison. All right, license 1706919, vehicle 1129. Vehicle 1023, those are 2 males and 1 female, and I already documented her. She is going to prison for gang stalking. I documented her targeting with Corey Walton, a kidnapper. Under the fake sun that's over this entrance, June 16, 2022, there is no sun in the natural environment no matter how many years pass. It is still scientifically relevant and probative evidence of this agency's pattern of conduct, and Mike LORENZ is going to prison for it. 1591755, vehicle 1023. And like I stated here, this is license plate 1697636, vehicle 1119. This is P.O.C. and this is based on what I just documented at that intersection where you're clearly seeing the fake sun moves away as I move away from that intersection where that's not the sun in the first place. Not the sun in the first place. I'm coming to this venue from a different location yesterday, from there. Not only that, but before that, I'm at the United States Postal Service, and I'm still there. based on that evidence. The entity has the fake sun reflecting off of this window, meaning it's still here at a low hovering elevation after 4 p.m. where Amazon Prime is engaged in the same pattern of conduct. The demons that wear the police department uniforms are the ones that are going to be disbanded and they're going to prison. This is ongoing criminal surveillance, and it's a threat to American citizens that don't have the evidence to prove how targeting and how they're being targeted. This is the same agency that lies with the people of the state while they're talking about you're harassing people, you're yelling in the bathroom, and you're molesting kids, that you're breaking into buildings when they're engaged in what it's doing so in that specific environment. It's called criminal summoning. This is the P.O.C. It is currently, like I stated, 8:36 a.m. They're all going to prison. This is the P.O.C. Alan D. WAPNER, the Ontario International Airport, is gang stalking with this agency, and they're doing so under that fake sun, that documentation. And this fake sun moves as I move, like I stated, while they're engaged in stalking together. That's how you're recognizing that they're stalking you. They engage in that pattern of conduct because this is their outdated system. We're just going to go ahead and conspicuously stalk. That's how you're referring to that legally. They're going to be right in your presence, right in your face, talking to somebody else, and that's supposed to make the target individual appear as though they are paranoid or they're having some sort of breakdown in public. No, they're targeting you through the environment, and they're going to prison for this malice. This is what they do while they murder you as well. Oh, they didn't know that you were in the middle of the street while they were sounding their sirens, while they're engaged in surveillance. That's murder by an entity that's engaged in surveillance, and they're not telling you about it. And never are you, when you're proven to be targeting like they are as demons in the specific environment where this fake sun is setting at this same venue, when they drive away, it's still here over me, moving as I move. They're going to prison. That's an outdated tactic. They're going to federal prison for the malice as well. They're going to federal prison for kidnapping as well. They're going to federal prison for ongoing stalking, which I'm documenting on a nightly, daily basis. There is nothing that you're going to do right now that is separate from what is already shown to be the ongoing stalking by the Ontario police. I'm standing here last night. They're flying over my head for I'm documenting it for 6 minutes straight. And they're routinely engaging in that. They're stalking. And they're demons who are stalking. And that's an outdated tactic that they're using again. And there's a body of evidence surrounding that agency in particular as you hone in on them in this documentation I have, being at this venue, stalking from sunrise until sunset every hour of the day. S. Patty is gang stalking under the fake sun at this same venue. And February 27, 2022, she's going to federal prison. The fake sun being here at 8 in the morning during standard time. And S. Patty is gang stalking pursuant to criminal summoning at what is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Where the entity, you can talk to whoever you want, you can face whatever direction you want. They do so with the airport, you're going to prison. This is an outdated tactic, and this is relevant to the malice. This is the pattern of conduct by that terrorist organization engaging in surveillance that is unconstitutional and it's inhumane, and they're doing so at Brightview. They're going to be prosecuted, they're going to be deported. It's not a distraction. They're gang stalking every day. They're sharing in the elements of monitoring, and they're targeting together. And that's what Starbucks is doing with them kidnapping. That demon that's gang stalking with Corey Walton at Starbucks, she's going to prison, and she's gang stalking right now. And that agency is surrounded with evidence of being demons gang stalking me for years under a fake sun. This is impunity. The impunity with which you engage in domestic terrorism, gang violence, and furtherance of murder, that's inevitable prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, I'm capturing that documentation, and that's a substantial video, but I needed to include all that because you're looking at, first of all, what they're doing, you're looking at where they're doing it, and you're looking at what is the intent behind doing it, what's the purpose, what is their intended purpose, which is relevant to the malice behind gang stalking. All of the aspect of the pattern of conduct is already on the record, number one, and then they're engaging in that while it is supposed to appear on the surface as though that has nothing to do with you. You're looking at what is the concerted conduct by Mickey. She's a psychopath, a malicious one, who is engaged, a very passive malicious one. She is what I would refer to as a punk. She's the type that will gang stalk you, and then she'll call the police because she's scared. She's scared to death. Okay, and this is not scared to death because I'm a black woman. She's scared to death, first of all, because of the power with regard to my prosecution. So that's just automatic. But she's scared because she's a coward. She's scared because she is, they hide behind the bullies of the whatever agency, and these bullies happen to be the Ontario Police. But these bullies are, they're punks. They engage in stalking. These are demons that wear diapers, just like I described. They wear diapers, they obsess over me. You're looking at what they're doing last night as I'm publishing evidence on the internet. They're clearly stalking by helicopter, and then they come right in front of your presence. When you're not forgetting the fact the fake sun is in the same position yesterday as I left that library at 4 p.m. In what universe? Only in a psychopath's mind. That compartmentalizes being a psychopath and a sex offender with being okay as a police officer, and no, you're not, you're a psychopath. Compartmentalizing your mental illness. The entities engaged in this under the fake sun, it's not irrelevant, it's directly relevant. And you're psychopathic while you're stalking, wearing those uniforms, you're going to federal prison. That's how the entity engages in that, the tactic behind that. The unsophisticated targeted individual is one that's supposed to be falsely depicted, while you point out but you don't have evidence. And they're certainly not documenting it either. They're engaged in what is making allegations that you don't have substantiated with evidence, number one. Number two, they are perhaps not quite very eloquent. They're perhaps not very sophisticated in the way in which they do it. Probably disorganized. Probably not having a naming convention. Probably not having a system whereby they've identified what are they doing. What are the elements that are underway? How are you identifying the same consistent behavioral pattern in a specific environment? That defies nature. They're not doing all that. They're doing it to the unsophisticated, the ordinary, the average target individual, and they are doing so to result in what is falsely depicting their character. That is criminal defamation, the intent to engage in criminal defamation. You can't defame me. You certainly can. You're a light-slinging, vagina-monitoring gargoyle. You're a psychopath, a delusional one, who compartmentalizes your life to make yourself feel okay so you don't blow your own head off, because that's what they are. They're suicidal. They're psychotic. They're gang-stalking demons. This is the Nephilim, and they're dressing up as police officers, and they're not. They're pathetic. I told you last night they were stalking a helicopter, stalking all day, every day. What do you think common sense was? Then we can get into the analysis. Common sense, logically, they're not doing anything other than the same thing that they're always doing. So you have demons that show their face as opposed to hiding their face and stalking me in helicopters. Frequently, regularly, systematically, under what is an identifiable environment. Clearly identifiable. There's no sun over Cardenas. There's not going to be either, because I'm not going to Cardenas. There's no sun over the United States Postal Service, nor is there going to be, because I'm not going over there. The entity keeps a fake sun, and that evidence is on the record. There will be no going back and forth and debating, especially with no demon. You're a demon. You're a liar. You wear that police uniform, and you're relying literally just on that uniform for people to take you seriously. And guess what? They're going to defecate on that uniform in the same way that you defecate on the Constitution. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, because you have disrespected what that uniform actually signifies. And they've already witnessed how illegitimate you are. They're relying on all manner of what is superficiality and vacuous symbols that don't mean anything. Get past the badge, get past the uniform, get past the the conversation with the people of the state, because all they're doing is gang stalking. The fake sun is here, the fake sun stays here. S. Patty's doing the same thing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, September 27, 2022. She's going to federal prison, and so are all of these 3 clowns at the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library right now. The fake sun is still present after 5 p.m. and that's on video as well. That's not up for debate either. They're targeting, and they're targeting in that way where they are talking to the people of the state. It's still surveillance. They're engaging in what is gang stalking someone else while they're focusing their attention superficially on the surface only. Because if it was actually about that person, there would not be engineer light flying about. The people of the state would not be driving around and targeting me with impossible light activity. A fake sun would not be hovering over me as opposed to everybody else, as I'm proving at the end of the day. And that agency would not have a documented pattern of following me around and harassing and targeting me amongst everybody else with helicopter activity, which is specific to me because I'm documenting it happening in that scientifically impossible environment. If that were the case, then that would not be the coexisting evidence, but it is the coexisting evidence. These demons are intellectually inferior. They're more obsessed than they are smart. Just because there's a lot of minions, that doesn't make any one of them superior at all. They're just a whole lot of stupid minions. I'm not playing. This is not name playing. They're going to prison behind a game that they lost. Outdated tactics. It does not work on me, and you're going to prison. Understand the malice of the system? And they're doing so while they are monitoring the evidence. And so you decided to engage in gang stalking me by helicopter after I published very damning evidence about Amazon Prime gang stalking me with Ontario Police Department at El Pollo Loco at Stater Brothers, where I was at yesterday. The fake sun would not be here over me while they're standing in what is impossible light activity, pacing back and forth to the vehicle. You'll know what I'm talking about when you look at the video. She's pacing. And she, in particular, begins pacing while I identify her. That's a demon that's hostile, a demon that's frustrated, so they pace it out. Okay? They start pacing. The entity's engaging in that pattern of conduct, and the pacing is shown through the context of a fake sun. Their mental illness is worn on the outside. They're psychopaths. And they maintain their facial expressions, they maintain their composure, but actually they're not. They're having a crash out right in front of you while they, with a straight face, calmly walk to the vehicle and walk back to the vehicle under the fake sun in that engineer light that's on the ground, after I point out the fact that she's already documented gang stalking me with the Ontario Police on what I believe is July 14, 2025. And what is also with Corey Walton at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Gang stalking inside of that cafe. Impossible lights sweeping all across the floor while those demons are sitting there just cheesing from ear to ear, just having a Kodak moment, just cheesing from ear to ear, gang stalking, being demons, not understanding how that evidence is going to come back and bite you. And it's going to put you in prison. You're not going to recover from that bite. You're not recovering from it. Nobody's going to disregard it. Nobody's going to look at that and just be like, oh, you know, so what? They're just, no, nobody's imagining the stalking and harassment by helicopter. Nobody's imagining that. Nobody's imagining the sunrise and sunset at one address where you are at, where you are habitually targeting as an agency. Nobody's forgetting that. Nobody's forgetting, and nobody's disregarding that. These are the demons that rely on that, and it's outdated. It's outdated and it doesn't work. It doesn't matter who you have. It doesn't matter what their position is. They're relying on the same outdated, archaic system, and they're going to prison behind it. Because the entities engaged in this, and this is what Jason Nancy feels he's going to prison for. This is their tactic that they rely on. He's going to federal prison. That is a threat to an American citizen's life and their liberty. I want to be clear, even outside of me documenting on video, the entity immediately subject to, in the same way, making up the fact that I harassed somebody, and then you, because of some hearsay that didn't even happen, that you don't want to explain, and then you just start putting your hands on me and stealing my, going through and searching my property, and then kidnapping me because I'm at a public venue. This is a public venue. There's no, first of all, there is no doctrine that provides them to even be in my presence at all. Second of all, I'm at a public, this is public property. So they don't even know the law with regard to authority that they have. And they don't have any, they're gang stalking. They're engaged in surveillance. They're delusional. This is establishing, number one, not only are they demons under the specific environment, and I'm showing you how it's an outdated tactic, I'm prosecuting them foundationally because they're engaged in surveillance, and I'm proving that. They're engaged in surveillance while they center their attention. This is a surveillance tactic by centering their attention. And who are they centering their attention around? The light-slinging gargoyles themselves. The people that say that I just documented. Impulse of light coming toward me while you're driving on the street. What does that have to do with sunlight? These are demons. They're unintelligent. And that's who they rely on while they're engaged in criminal summoning. This is what Burtnick is relying on under the fake sun. It's criminal summoning. It's criminal summoning. What are they doing with regard to 12:14 p.m. where Mickey is gang stalking at her place of work? At 12:14 p.m. where the Ontario police are coming to me talking about I'm yelling at somebody in the bathroom. And I'm not talking to any of these homosexual predators in the bathroom. I don't address these demons, these witches that want to consume my bodily fluid, going through the toilet, searching out the trash can so they could steal my anything that I'm using so they could consume my bodily fluid. I'm not talking to these gargoyles. I don't say anything to these demons. They're obsessing over me and they make up information because they're hostile about what they know that I'm documenting about them being sex offenders on behalf of this agency. Nobody cares that you don't like the way that I do it. Nobody cares that you don't like that I'm passionate and that I'm good at showing you to be a demon and a stalker. Conspiring my mind. Nobody cares about that. In the way that nobody cares about whether you like the fact that you're getting deported or not. Nobody cares about that. The country is going to be celebrated and protected by your deportation. That's the germane fact. Okay? That's the instrumental aspect that everybody cares about. That's what everyone's going to be celebrating. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they do so with regard to what are absolutely superficial and irrelevant facets of their pattern of conduct. With regard to, not their pattern of their system, because the pattern of conduct, there's no irrelevant facet to the pattern of conduct, but their system, they rely on the superficial. Oh, we're talking to somebody that you don't know, that's not talking about you, we're not looking at you, we're not standing by you, we're not near you, so we're not targeting you. These are the demons that are engaged in the pattern of conduct, speaking to how they're targeting, proven through an environment. Where does that fake sun remain as I walk toward them? It's over me. That's not the natural environment. That's how you're proving that they're stalking as a whole apartment complex at the Sarah's Regis Group downtown Ontario luxury apartments. And who are they targeting while the fake sun is over you? And I'm documenting a pattern not just by these imbeciles of the Ontario Police Department, but by the imbeciles of the Los Angeles Police Department, who provided a wealth of evidence in order to prosecute the entire state of California, while I'm living off of the hillside at Alvarado Gardens. Minding my business. Finding myself being targeted by that police department, targeted, proven through what is the fake sun. Oh, they don't have the convenience of stating, oh, we just engaged in routine flight over that hillside, which just so happened to be over Erica Spencer's apartment at 2 o'clock in the morning, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, and at 3 o'clock, all day, every night, in other words. That also was engaged in what is violation of my contractual right to quiet enjoyment while you're engaged in surveillance. But nonetheless, the entity doesn't have that argument because it's unreasonable. And it's still speaking to that which is clear targeting, that science Science backs up because it's very precise who you're targeting. In fact, the gang stalkers right here at the OVITT Family Community Library are giving more probative evidence about who LAPD is targeting. And they're very much fearful. While I'm mentioning names who are going to be prosecuted by their criminal conduct, proving what LAPD is doing, and while LAPD is proving what Ontario police are proving. In fact, while I was in LAPD, this is exactly who I was speaking about. This is exactly what I was referring to. And they're going to prison. They're sharing that pattern of conduct, and they're mentally disturbed. That mental illness is relevant to what is intellectually inferior. All they rely on is murder. They rely on kidnapping and defamation to try to silence someone. When that doesn't work, when you can't rely on the big bad demons of Ontario who are going to federal prison, don't forget what I said before those demons pulled up like the gang members that they are, and it remains true. Who do you think that is? The entity is relying upon when you're engaged in targeting? When you can't rely, I'm gonna say it again because it's the truth. When you can't rely on those demons that just caught federal time, when you can't rely on them, then who you gonna rely on? Because they're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. The security guard, he's going to prison. Brightview over here gang stalking with Ontario police. That's federal prison. You're talking about Brightview as a business subject to what is investigation by I.I.S with regard to facilitating terrorism. Any of their immigrant employees are going to be deported. Okay, while Brightview's here systematically engaging the P.O.C. with the police by helicopter and by engaging in criminal something like they just committed. Systematically on a daily basis, that business would produce there's a way to get every single last detail. I'm not going to go through all that. These demons are focusing on my vagina day in and day out, and that's fine because I'm going to prosecute them because they have no idea what's happening. They're not on the level whatsoever. They are not prepared. That's why they literally just use this outdated tactic. You can't distract me. You can't defame me. You can't outthink me. You cannot. You cannot make somebody that's maintaining an investigation regarding facts. Facts, honey. Facts. About you gang stalking with Corey Walton at 6:33 in the morning where the sun would not still be over the same location. 9:30 in the morning, daylight savings time, 8:30. That's not the sun. Second of all, you're already gang stalking me at that establishment where this agency committed kidnapping upon what is the absurdity of stating you merely wanted me to buy something. That's relevant, in other words, with regard to the pattern of targeting me for upon making things up and upon engaging what is harassment. And I am requesting, why are you calling the police in order for me to buy something, Ocean? She's going to prison. She's a gang stalker. That's kidnapping. Upon harassment, where you're engaging in the P.O.C. with that agency who was under the fake sun at 7:15 a.m. The entity has the fake sun over me still on the same block. That moved east, by the way, to be over me at that library entrance where they're gang stalking, utilizing criminal summoning. Criminal summoning. You see that same pattern. The entity stalking in the sky space with the form of aircraft. You see the same pattern. The fake sun over my head. She's pacing in the engineer light as I refer to the evidence that you can look at yourself while she's gang stalking using an Ontario Police Department vehicle. I believe, if I recollect correctly, I'll find it. But I believe it's July 14, 2025, because then I document the demons of the Ontario Police gang stalking via police training. That's the sign that they hold up while they're stalking under the fake sun, and they just want to carry big guns and all kinds of equipment to communicate a threat while they're all pacing under the fake sun. That's all they're doing. It's all about me. In the same way that their helicopter activity proves that it's all about me under the fake sun. The fake sun that's still here. We don't have the shared experience. When they drive off, that fake sun stays right here over me. In fact, it's here while that same agency is flying circles around me all night long, all day long. And then you're engaging in what is referred to as criminal summoning. That is not some paranoid schizophrenic breakdown when you're engaged in what is addressing somebody else, just like that's what criminal summoning is about. And they're engaging in what is gang stalking you. It's actually about the targeted individual proven through the specific environment. No matter how severe they want to make it seem, oh, we're going to hold our guns out and point them out not the target individual, but the third party, because they're threatening us. It can get very dramatic, if you will, while they're gang stalking their bad actors, all of them under the fake sun. Where the airport is stalking and claiming like you were landing yesterday, UPS, but not today. Where the entity is gang stalking under a fake sun, that would be at 9:30 in the morning. Oh, well, during daylight savings time, that pacing demon that's gang stalking at the OVITT Family Community Library, which is going to be compared with the demons that are stalking at 6, at 4, at 1, at 10 in the morning during daylight savings time, while they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. Demons like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, S. Patty, like I said, I'll connect that video. You're going to prison. You're going to federal prison and you're going to be subject to mental examinations. You can't defame me. I've already got you surrounded. I've already got you surrounded in the P.O.C. tape. While I'm showing you, now all I'm doing is I want everybody to pay attention to the malice. It's not intelligence, it's malice. Somebody stalking someone as a police department and thinking that you'll never see it. And you're delusional in thinking that everybody is watching this agency target me every day. Everybody's watching the people that say a bunch of light-slinging demons going engaging into a library where none of them read. Clearly, they are not intelligent. None of them read. And they'll go stalking inside of the library. Because that's where the targeted individual who's very well read, that's where she spends her time. So you got a bunch of ignoramuses inside of buildings that they never have been in before and never would be in. And you have cowards like Mickey gang stalking and requiring criminal summoning. She's going to prison. You think that's your trigger finger? No, my trigger finger is prosecuting you for everything that you're engaging with regard to criminal summoning. That's the pattern of conduct. Let me show you images of the entity that is gang stalking. Southwest Airlines is speaking to what UPS was doing yesterday. And it's no takeoff. It's called stalking in the path. They're engaged in what is the pattern of conduct under the fake sun. And it is currently, like I stated, it's 8:56 a.m. That will be 9:56 a.m., by the way. That will be 10 a.m. during daylight savings time. The evidence of the entity keeping the fake sun during daylight savings time, outside of daylight savings time, equals gang stalking. The Ontario police engaged in what is conspicuous stalking under that fake sun that moved from the location where it's at in alignment to me as I walk into their presence, and that fake sun moves as I move to be over that building, where when I'm taking a picture of where they're at a distance, it's not over that building. They're stalking, just like Amazon Prime is, as I'm showing you that fake sun in the evening reflecting off of the same building, which is evidence of the fact that Florida, when we have one sun in a natural environment, never saw the sun. You got a bunch of demons that are sitting around engaging in surveillance of the one that's smarter than all of them put together. That's why they're all stalking me. These are the demon possessed. This is the Nephilim. And they're wearing police uniforms that they're going to be stripped from. And you're going to federal prison for that exposed effort of conspicuously stalking somebody. That's the psychological torture tactic that's relevant to harassment. And with the pattern of engaging in false allegations and kidnapping, you're engaging in what is an unlawful threat to my well-being and my liberty. You're going to prison for that as being a demon-possessed, light-slinging a gang stalker that wears that uniform. The entity is engaged in what is murder under the same circumstances. You're going to prison for that. They're going to federal prison. They're engaged in surveillance, and then they pull up to center around a third party, because that's the reality of the circumstances. This is all surveillance. And then I have enough evidence to go ahead and dissect the evidence of the P.O.C, what they're actually doing as monitoring light-slinging demons. This is foundational with regard to surveillance. You're engaging in surveillance while you use what are the people of the state to focus your attention only on the surface, because they're monitoring demons that don't look at you, they don't have to address you while they're monitoring you. And the communication of a threat while you see those police officers monitoring you, you're going to prison. Those are the same ones that commit murder, and then the government, the so-called investigation that follows, lets them off. The courtrooms legitimize it, support it under the law, create precedent for it. While they're engaged in surveillance and nobody's telling you that, you're going to federal prison. Okay, that's what the entity just committed right now, and they're doing so while they listen to everybody and everything that I just said. And let me be clear, the same conclusion. In fact, you're understanding why Jason Isaac Fields is going to federal prison as a domestic terrorist leader. You're understanding why Mike Lorenz and Derek Williams, the mentally ill, light-slinging gargoyles in position of leadership over these demons. That's why they're going to federal prison. That's exactly why. Because this demon that thought it was funny, his name starts with a G. I have the video of him. I'm at the Ontario Town Square at 6 p.m. during daylight savings time, so that will be 5 p.m. and that is equally impossible to be the natural environment, showing to be the pattern of conduct by this agency that are engaging in criminal surveillance with the people of the state as demons that engage in stalking, this ritualistic system of surveillance where they are stalking you as a population, and it is shown and proven through an engineered environment where they're engaging in what is all manner of sexual violence and violating your privacy, engaging in sex trafficking before they murder you. These are the types of, like I stated, atrocious sex acts that Jason feels that this entity has committed, and you go to prison for that. In addition to, they're doing so where I'm showing this same environment. The Ontario police is gang stalking me at every hour of the day at this venue. Now on YouTube, I can only attach 5 different videos. I could attach also, I think there's 2 more that you could do. You'd have to watch the video to the end to see those appear on the screen. So that would be 7. And I could note all of them if I wanted to, but in a courtroom is where there's going to be no question. There's no question left here as I go over the legal analysis. In the courtroom, there's no question about this agency targeting and the way in which they're targeting. And they have been literally fully exposed, and to the extent they've been embarrassed with regard to the level of evidence that is already present. And there is nothing that Jason Isaac Fields is doing with regard to helping. That's an unlawful threat that an American citizen has a right to not be subject to. He's going to federal prison for that. That is what he solicited with regard to getting away with criminal acts that he and the federal government have committed against me. And the entity, the Ontario Police Department, gang stalking me is supposed to result in the federal government, that entity, getting away with it. Tracy Banks getting away with the criminal acts that they've already committed against me. You're going to prison under all circumstances, because it's terrorism. So you're engaging in terrorism to get away with what is corrupt government conduct, where you had no right to engage in it in the first place. And then you don't cease to engage in it. You are the cause for it continuing. You are the cause for it existing and continuing in the first place. You're going to prison. This entity is engaged in stalking me on an ongoing basis using helicopters, flying over, making it very clear that I'm the one that they're targeting, not only because of the fake son, not only because of what I happen to be documenting at the time that they arrived and stalking and harassing me by helicopter, but they're doing so at all hours of the day. Excuse me, at all hours of the day and night, flying over the top of my head and flying in circles around me for prolonged periods of time. And then these delusional psychopaths come and engage in what is criminal summoning. You're still gang stalking. Those are the only delusional ones. They are, in fact, the mentally ill, even through their delusional behaviors. The Ontario International Airport stalking in concert with them. Delusional behaviors. You're doing so while the evidence is showing that an environment, the crime scene, is in fact a crime scene, while I'm showing what is impossible, because the one son would not be serving to prosecute LAPD at the same time and prosecute you while it's remaining over me at the totally different locations, where it's not going to be over that apartment building and moving in alignment to me from the square to that entrance of the library, where it's over me at Stater Brothers, where I'm walking to this location, where I'm documenting them engaging in the sex offense while I'm at Vesta and Vine, where the entity is engaged in what is stalking me by keeping the fake son over the United States Postal Service. It's 9:02 a.m. I'm still at that part of town while I then go to Cardenas. The fake son's hovering, sitting on the roof. It's not in the sky. It's sitting on the roof of that building. That is not going to be here. It's over the Ontario Police Department. It's 10:02 a.m. There's no sun over it. Remember, we're the ones that change the time. The conduct of the sun remains uniform. So the entities engaging in what is, there's no sun, it's 10:02. The sun's not over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. The sun moved east as I moved east into the presence of those demons. This is all of that which you're analyzing while they rely on some outdated tactic. We're gonna talk to somebody else while they're triggering you. They engage in triggering, they engage in psychological torture, and then they engage in voyeurism. Demons that are corrupt with them engage in then defaming their character, and that's what they use to defame you, and that's not the practice of medicine. That is not mental illness, and it's not the assessment for mental illness. They're going to prison for that. That's what they just engaged in. And let me show you them stalking by helicopter. All three of those demons are going to prison. This is P.O.C. They fly right over my head while they're triggered by the fact of what it is that I just said about them, because it's their tactic. That's the very tactic. There are no coincidences here. Those demons that engaged in that, that's not the practice of medicine, and it's also not mental illness. That's literally their outdated tactic. You were already stalking while you engage in that knee-jerk conduct, flying over my head under a fake sun. That's not during daylight savings time over the entrance, proven to be targeting, in other words, and they're also targeting while I speak the truth about that system and that outdated method that those three demons utilize, and they're going to prison for it. You're going to federal prison, and that's the agency that is in fact targeting. That's why they are again stalking by helicopters. Again, I cannot make it up. These are demons that are inferior, and their inferiority, their obsession with me, is exposing to you the mental illness, the inherent incompetence of this light-slinging gargoyle, this sex offender, this sex trafficker, this obsessed stalker, Mike Lorenz, and that is shared by Derek Williams. And the puppets of the Ontario Police Department, they're going to federal prison for that which they're engaging in under a fake sun, proven to be a pattern of conduct shared by a population of demons who engage in the P.O.C. This population is remaining present under a fake sun that's here at sunset. That's the pattern of conduct. This is activity creation, while demons use those under the age of majority. That's a psychopath, and these are little psychopaths in training. That's the pattern of conduct while they're doing so with the government that flies over my head, very targeted in a specific environment, while I document, which the entity is keeping under surveillance, which is what was inspiring very foolish documented criminal activity for which they're going to prison. But the entity is engaging in that while they are stalking by helicopter. Okay, doing so while I'm telling you the fact that they engage in triggering, they utilize psychological torture, and then they use that to refer to, oh, the targeted individual, oh my goodness, she's just so, or he's just so disturbed, they're just so, just inexplicable. We really like, she's special, but there's, we just want her to get help. We're not quite sure when they're engaged in what is gang stalking you through the demons that stole your car, the demons that engaged in harassing you, the demons that engaged in what is falsely accusing you and then kidnapping you, the demons that engaged in gang stalking you in your face, like that demon that's at that venue gang stalking with Corey Walton at Starbucks. They engage in psychologically torturing American citizens and triggering them, and then engaging in what is passive-aggressive violence, if you will. That's how I'll term it. That is not the practice of medicine, and that is not mental illness. That's not the assessment of mental illness either. The entity is necessarily disregarding the clear evidence of targeting that the ordinary targeted individual doesn't have. That's not going to happen here. They literally engaged in targeting in real time while I exposed to you that tactic of what is psychological torture. Mike LORENZ is going to federal prison. These demons have put themselves in cells and asylums, and this is exposing domestic terrorism in the United States. And because of the gang stalking, corrupt police departments, every immigrant in the state of California is being deported. I want to let you know that. They're being deported. The entire population, all of Brightview's employees, all of those that are immigrants, they're getting deported. All of the gang stalking residents in Ontario, whether they're sleeping behind dumpsters or not, they're getting deported. Okay, this is P.O.C. That's what's so genius about targeting somebody that's prosecuting you and documenting. There will be no debate. While you're maintaining an investigation, a body of evidence, you are not, especially while you're some light-slinging, diaper-wearing, vagina-monitoring gargoyle who does not even have mental competence yourself, you are in no position, nor will you, under any other circumstance, ever defame somebody else while you're stalking them. It is legally irrelevant, moreover. It's legally irrelevant. And they are under no circumstances, under any circumstances, in any position to talk about anybody's mindset. They don't have any clarity. They don't have any soundness of mind. They certainly don't understand how law is practiced, how law is administered, how you are engaging in the practice of law, and how the practice of law and facts and circumstances, that applies to the practice of medicine. That's not the practice of medicine while you're engaging in targeting somebody, and then while you trigger and psychologically torture them, you rely on that to what is falsely depict their character. That's the tactic of the gang members of Mike LORENZ. He's going to prison. It's a pattern of conduct practiced by that agency, and he knows about every helicopter that I publish online targeting me. He's done nothing about it. So does the mayor. So do these puppets that are gang stalking wearing those uniforms. Mike LORENZ is engaged in a pattern of conduct not different from targeting by Osama bin Laden, a foreign terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist, and you're going to prison. Sir, you're going to federal prison, and your mental illness is a matter of public information because you are a threat to American society. It is currently, like I stated, Jason Fields is going to prison for this. It's 9:07 a.m., 10:07 during daylight savings time, and there's no sun over the entrance. The history of evidence shows that the fake sun, as I go to that entrance, if I'm not being targeted under a fake sun that's still here after 4 p.m., 5 and 6 p.m., then the sun would be in a position where it's analogous to being over the entrance, where all those stalkers remain present, and nobody's stalking me, nobody's targeting me, even though it's still in alignment to my face while I'm sitting inside. An impossible occurrence, and also no coincidence, especially when I'm documenting targeting by that agency, who's so frustrated and triggered by my evidence, ironically, that they engage in more targeting conduct, and then they engage in criminal summoning, like you forgot about all that, like they just did last night, and they did again right now. No, the entity is engaged in what is its trigger moments, is evidence assessing their mental illness. It's antisocial, it's psychopathic in nature. They're the ones that are going to be assessed. This is P.O.C. And this is evidence because those demons that engage in criminal summoning, they're going to federal prison. This is the pattern of conduct. It's 9:08 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square. The entity has the fake sun over the Cardenas. The entity is flying over the top of my head at 9:26, 9:27 a.m. at the Church's Chicken, 700 West Hope Boulevard. That's not this. The entity has the fake sun as I exit after 4 p.m., after 5 p.m. This is speaking to what is the fake sun, where they engage in criminal summoning and then fly over my head as I give you what is the tactic of criminal surveillance, where the entity is seeking to defame your character in order to get away with corruption in my circumstance. Not only is that not working, they're going to prison, and Ontario Police is being disbanded. P.O.C. All right, I'm capturing video right now while the entity is triggered by the truth about what I speak. That's what they're always doing. That's what they were doing last night while I was documenting very damning evidence, very probative. While you see Amazon Prime gang stalking by helicopter, after 4 p.m., you see that fake sun, the fake sun you're looking at right now at 9. The fake sun is still present because you can see it reflecting off of that apartment building where they want to be appeared as making a delivery. Now, they're just making a delivery in the neighborhood. They're not doing it. They're minding their business. They're getting paid. And they're making a delivery. No, they're engaged in the pattern of conduct. Under a fake sun, reflecting the fake sun is the same impact as the fake sun shining in the sky space, hovering down, which is necessarily the case when it hasn't gone anywhere, when you can see it reflecting off of the window. This is where the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct after 4 p.m. This is where the entity is engaged in criminal summoning. This is where the entity is flying over the top of my head as I point out what is the tactic of gang stalking police officers who have conspired your murder. LAPD is engaged in criminal surveillance, and like I stated before, I'm going to repeat it again. The entity is engaged in criminal surveillance, and they are not accidentally hitting people in the middle of the street street while they have their sirens on. They turn their sirens on to create what is a cover, the guise for which premeditated murder is occurring, where they know, first of all, they're demons. Second of all, they're engaged in criminal surveillance using technology. They know exactly where that young man is, who is subject to surveillance amongst this state in California, and they engage in what is hitting him intentionally while sounding sirens, just like the Ontario police are, while those are demons who are monitoring me. They engage in criminal summoning. That's the same pattern of conduct that the Ontario police are engaged in while they fly over my head while they're listening to every word that I say. Not coincidentally, where the fake son is still here after 4 p.m. That's exactly what Amazon Prime is proving while they're making a delivery at the same location after 4 p.m. in concert with that same city of Ontario, who relies on the gang stalkers, the people of the state. The demons delivering packages under the fake son gang stalking. The demons working at the library under the fake son gang stalking. The demons sitting around gang stalking at the Ontario Town Square with their underage children gang stalking. And they're doing so as an agency. And that pattern of conduct is putting domestic terrorist leaders Jason Fields, Mike Lorenz in federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:11 a.m. All right, the people of the state that are gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, this is the entity that's engaged in what is molestation with impossible light. That's what's coexisting while the entity is engaged in criminal summoning, the stalking with impossible light, and that's what I stated. And as I stop recording, the demons that are along Euclid Avenue, many of whom I documented their license plates, every single last one of them engaging in the sex offense, touching with impossible light while they're crossing paths. These are the Nephilim that engage in that supernatural act as they show you and tell you, expose to you, confirm what it is that I told you about them, that they are in fact demons. And these are demons that are engaged in conspicuous stalking while wearing police uniforms at that, and you're going to prison for that. Because that's the abuse of government positions that are used to murder people and kidnap people and falsely depict their character, as I'm exposing an outdated system that doesn't work. It certainly doesn't work against me, and it is that which has been used against American citizens that don't have the proof to show that they've been targeted while they were criminally defamed. Okay, it is 9:12 a.m. Molestation of my person while I'm sitting at the wall where Robert Rivera and Carlos and the fat Latino male are gang stalking along Euclid Avenue. Engaging in that with criminal summoning with the Ontario police is relevant to them as well. Gang stalking with that police department. The entities gang stalking Wells Fargo at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Mule Car Smokehouse 200 North Euclid Avenue. Brightview landscaping, sharing in that sexual violence. The demon-possessed demons that are gang stalking, pacing all around the Ontario Square, like I captured on video, right? This demon that's running with his children, that's psychopathic pacing. They do it as a group. It's very disturbing when you see children engaging in the pattern of conduct. It's very sick. It's showing the reality of those that are of this condition, those that are cursed, that are already demon possessed, and they're not even 14 yet, and they're demons. And their parents are engaging in that demonic conduct with them, and what you can't see, but what you're actually witnessing are hideous black creatures that are demons, and they're hiding within the flesh and blood of people that want to present as sane, and they're not. Their criminal activity, which is demonic behavior as well, is going to be used to assess their mental illness, and mental illness of this nature is shared by those that are under the majority. They're gang stalking with their parents. But nonetheless, this is what the demons are doing while they are crossing paths on Euclid Avenue, and I'm being targeted with regard to knowledge and the actual intent of that agency that engaged in criminal summoning and also stalking by helicopter. Doing so with regard to what is hostility to what it is that I'm documenting. Engaging in those tactics is putting them in prison. Also engaging what is flying over my head as I expose the tactics of that agency is putting them in prison. Engaging what is conspicuous stalking while there is a body of evidence of you targeting me and furtherance of murder is putting you in prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. under the fake sun. It's 9:14 a.m. That is again confirming the entity is targeting me with impossible light while that agency is stalking by helicopter under the fake sun. P.O.C. Just want you to hear that. License plate 9GBD 678, I believe. License 7GBD758, and I'm capturing what is the fake sun over me. That's exactly what you're witnessing, by the way, at the ARCO, where I'm standing at the Starbucks, facing the Starbucks, and the Ontario police are gang stalking me while that fake sun is in that parking lot. That fake sun follows me to this venue, the Ontario Town Square, where this fake sun is remaining. That is stalking proven through the environment where this agency is stalking by helicopter. This is the entity for the third time today engaging in conspicuous stalking using helicopters in furtherance of murder to psychologically torture, harass, and threaten while they're keeping all of this evidence under surveillance in real time, and their criminal activity with helicopters while they're in these vehicles engaging in conspicuous stalking, which is threatening behavior by the government engaging in surveillance. That's the entity that's going to prison for it. That's the gang violence of that entity that's engaging in what is gang violence in the bathrooms. Mike Lorenz is a sex offender. The demons of the Ontario Police are sex offenders, vagina monitoring sex offenders. They are engaging in what is incentivizing and encouraging sexual violence of a mentally ill nature. They're engaging in what is the criminal pattern of conduct, as I've shown you the fake sun over me at the intersection of E and Euclid. The Ontario Police are stalking. While they're also stalking while they fly over the top of my head, and that fake sun is in alignment to me. They're also stalking while they're flying what is north of my person, and the fake sun is in alignment to me, because that fake sun is not over the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library like it is at 10 o'clock when I'm at that entrance walking in with all the other demons engaging in surveillance, including those that work there like Mickey. Okay, but the entity is, again, with regard to daylight savings time, that's just us adjusting our times. The sun's going to engage in what it's engaging in, regardless of what one individual is doing, because the natural environment isn't tailored around one person. But I'm showing you how the demons of the Ontario Police are exhibiting their demon possession, which is their mental illness, while they're engaged in criminal activity with the people of the state who share in that mental illness. And while they're engaged in molesting me, that is the sex offense committed preceding murder as an entity, they're stalking by helicopter, confirming that sex offense that I just documented. In fact, they're engaging in that together. It's because of Mike Lorenz that they're engaging in that sexual violence. So Jason Fields and Mike Lorenz are going to prison for it. This is exactly what they engaged in last night while I'm in the midst of publishing the evidence about Amazon gang stalking. The entity begins stalking me by helicopter, flying over my head and flying around me in circles for a prolonged period, and they're engaging in that under a fake sun. That's speaking to the mental illness that is shared by the demon-possessed gang stalkers who molest you with light while they're monitoring you. That's what's relevant about that. And while I use Florida frequently, it's relevant to what is, again, speaking to what's not the sun. Because in Florida, it is 12:17 p.m. and that's not the sun that's over you, while the Ontario Police are being prosecuted literally by that scientific fact. And so are the people of the state. Okay, but the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and you are aware of the fact that surveillance is underway by Miami-Dade police, for example. You are aware of the fact that surveillance is underway in that specific environment, which is demonic. You are aware of the fact that you are under surveillance while you observe a fake sun that remains over you for the duration of the day when you don't move. Okay, if you stay there all day long, you'll see that fake sun be on the east side to the west side of whatever location that you're at. That's not the natural environment, and that's serving to prosecute by science, and it's also serving to diagnose regarding the legitimate practice of medicine, while the psychopathic pattern of conduct such as stalking as a police department, stalking using outdated and what are also malicious and psychopathic tactics, where your mental illness is actually put at the outset while you employ those tactics, as opposed to what is the abuse and misuse of the practice of medicine, demons that are in that field to engage and commit criminal defamation. And the entity's going to prison, and I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, while that entity was triggered and then engaged in that documented iteration of a failed tactic for which all of those demons are going to prison. The entity engages in what is gang stalking, while punks like to blast Tupac while they're nothing close. They're diaper-wearing, vagina-monitoring cowards who run, and they call the bullies of the Ontario Police. The bullies who are unintelligent, not smarter than a fifth grader, not. Okay? Obsessed with me, wearing diapers, do not take a nap, do not cease from stalking me. They're a bunch of pansies, they're little girls who are intimidated by me. These are not men, nor are they women. They're demons, and they're very unintelligent, and they are already surrounded. The proof of that. And their unintelligence is not just something to make fun of, it's something that served to prosecute them. They're going to prison for the terrorists that they are. They're facilitating gang violence, they're facilitating sexual violence, they're facilitating domestic terrorism. 691084 is present on behalf of that agency that made itself clear. Gang stalking, using their vehicles and helicopters under the fake sun that remains over me, while that entire population is patrolling all around me all day long until sunset. Even at this address at 224 North Euclid Avenue. And they're demons that do so while they are now keeping the evidence that's going to prosecute them under surveillance, which then triggers them while they commit more documented acts of terrorism, committed in furtherance of murder, while they share mental illness. In fact, the mental illness, which is antisocial and psychopathic, very much delusional and a threat to American citizens whom are being monitored by the mentally ill, while they're stalking you with impossible light, stalking you as a population under a fake sun, they're exhibiting that mental illness. Okay, and it is that which is in furtherance of murder. Absolutely, it is psychopathic, and it is that which they harm a threat to American citizens. And in this environment where the demon-possessed, the Nephilim, are going to be stripped of uniforms and stripped of the ability to masquerade as a so-called Ontario Police Department, demons and terrorists like the enemy of this country, Mike Lorenz and Derek Williams and Jason Isaac Fields, they're going to federal prison. Okay, they're going to federal prison for the gang violence that they incentivize and they share in with the Nephilim, who are the people of the state. The Nephilim that engage in sex trafficking together, that engage in criminal activity seeking to frame me for it together, that engage in what is stalking in places like bathrooms, sharing in sex acts and criminal activity together while they share that mental illness. That's relevant to the absurdity of their criminal and sexually violent mind state while they engage in this criminal activity, and they're going to prison for it. It is currently 9:21 a.m. The entity's keeping that fake sent over me at the Ontario Town Square. I took those images, and this is relevant to everything that's going to be uploaded to the Google Drive. The employees inside of the OVITT Family Community Library are going to prison while the entities engage in all manner of proof of targeting, and you're targeting on behalf of that entity inside, and they are punks that rely on the diaper-wearing punks of the Ontario Police Department who are intimidated by me. That's why you're climbing into helicopters. Helicopters that put you in prison because it's showing that you're stalking. And it's showing how they've been targeting American citizens as an unintelligent entity of demons. Stalking amongst a population in an identifiable environment. That shows that targeting is underway in the rest of the states in this country. And it's showing that it is surveillance. You're already engaged in surveillance when you're engaged in a traffic stop referred to as criminal summoning. Moreover, you're targeting me specifically while you're engaged in surveillance, and you're going to prison for that. It's conspicuous stalking while you're keeping my evidence under surveillance, proven by the fact that you're stalking me by helicopter, flying over the top of my head and flying around me while I continuously note things that are triggering to you a delusional psychopath who is obsessively wearing diapers while you keep me under surveillance 24 hours a day, stalking me where I sleep, whether it's outside, whether it's in a hotel, whether it's outside on a bench, whether it's outside or in an apartment where Tracy Banks was located. They're stalking obsessively. You're going to prison because of your inability to control your obsessive and psychopathic impulses, which are a threat to the public while you are masquerading as a police department, and you are nothing close to that. These diaper-wearing gargoyles are going to be mentally assessed, and they're going to prison. They're overt criminal activity which is shared by a population. That's terrorism. They're going to prison for this, okay? This is the entity that's engaged in that, and they're doing so while the fake sun is still here after 4 p.m. This is what Dylan proves. This is what Amazon Prime yesterday evening proves, all right? This is what Robert Rivera inside of the Economy Inn hotel room, where he's monitoring me with impossible light all over the ceiling. This psychopath pacing inside of that room while that fake sun's outside of that window, showing you that the people of the state are gang stalking where they live, where they work, with that same agency that's stalking at that hotel, over my hotel room, by helicopter, day and night. You're talking about federal prison. That's committed in furtherance of murder. That's not law enforcement. That's not policing. And there are no protections with regard to the due process rights of police officers. They're engaged in surveillance. That's entirely distinct. They're surrounded by the P.O.C. They don't have any protection whatsoever. There is no bureaucracy. There is no organization that's going to successfully support them, because under the law, they don't have it. It is distinct with regard to protecting officers that are engaged in the execution of their duties. You are outside of that. This is not merely abuse of that protection that's still provided. This is the engagement in criminal surveillance, which is not protected. It is not within the duties of officers. They're going to prison. I'm going to prosecute them under the law as they exist, and laws are going to come into existence with regard to capturing, just like I'm telling you. Engaging in what is psychologically torturing someone and triggering them is the way in which the entity is kidnapping via criminal defamation. They're going to prison for that. It's an outdated tactic, and it doesn't work against me, and the entity literally used that on me. I'm the wrong person. And they are the wrong people to be caught me documenting. You're going to prison for that. You're going to federal prison. This is the entity that's mentally ill, and so is the entity of the people of the state together. And they're surrounded with evidence of the fake sun being in a totally different location while they are proven under science to be stalking as well. This is P.O.C. It's 9:24 a.m. Alrighty. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's stalking, engaging in what is flight at the moment that I am logging onto the Wi-Fi. That's called monitoring conduct. It's audible activity, relevant positioning under what is a fake sun. And this is pacing while they're on the sky space, in the sky space and on the ground, maintaining presence. This is psychopathic pacing, and you're also looking at what they're doing, which is also under the fake sun. You're looking at what they're doing, the timing with which they're doing it, as you're understanding targeting of a specific person and how monitoring and surveillance is underway on the internet amongst demons. That's what they are. They're creating activity on the ground around me, surrounding, and the entity is surrounding with activity in the sky space, and there's no takeoffs here. And UPS is last night at 4 p.m. dipping behind this amphitheater. UPS is hovering right here yesterday as I'm referring to the fact that UPS is stalking, and the entities engaging what is a U-turn, flying right here, hovering down and doing nothing other than making a U-turn, monitoring what I'm doing on my device. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 9:32 a.m., 10:32 a.m. during daylight savings time. The entity is documented keeping the fake sun over the Ontario Town Square, over the Ontario Town Square, but over the OVITT Family Community Library as I walk down to that entrance. The entity is stalking. Stalking is proven through that environment, and this is where the Ontario police are flying over my head. They're gang stalking with Brightview. Brightview is routinely engaged in hiring immigrants. This is relevant for deportation. You're going to deport from businesses that are engaging in gang stalking in California. You're going to find the entity that's engaging in targeting as a business, starting his ignition the moment that I log onto the Wi-Fi, 48AMLOH. The ignition is relevant to what you hear, audible activity. These are cockroaches scattering. They're creating light activity while they're walking under what is the fake sun that's still here, as I've documented during daylight savings time after 6 p.m. And the entity is targeting. That's why the Ontario police flew over the top of my head. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:32 a.m. Wells Fargo molesting with the demons that are stalking in the parking lot. License 69I00H4 16005E4. The employees are inside of Wells Fargo gang stalking. Securitas is gang stalking the kidnapper with the Ontario police on September 28, 2025. They're sharing in a sex offense. This is the pathetic tactics. As pathetic as it is, this is what is resulting in American citizens being murdered. They're harassed and they're terrorized, and then they're triggered, and the entity seeks to defame them, while a population gang stalks them, bullies them, and harasses them, and then calls that mental illness. They're going to be assessed and they're going to prison based on the ways in which they've engaged in gang stalking me. 9MZK741, EH41TO3 paper, 9EFY428. They're sharing in that sex offense while demons are pacing in this parking lot. They're driving an injured light. They're under the fake sun. Wells Fargo was stalking as well. Remember the direction that I'm coming from yesterday from the Stater Brothers? The fake sun's on the opposite side of the street, while the Ontario police are demons driving on this side of the street going north, and the fake sun is on the opposite side where these gang members go to the OVITT Family Community Library engaging in conspicuous stalking today. Conspicuous stalking equals federal prison. 8MQT438 and license plate 5AIX254. License 9SQR222, and Cintas is gang stalking. Cintas is gang stalking. Cintas's license plate is, let me show you the airport that is stalking as I walk to the entrance area. Okay, not the entrance, but the Euclid Avenue location. And I'm going to show you also, let me go ahead and get video real quick. This is the entity that is stalking. And stalking is identified through, Stalking is identified through the unnatural environment. The entity is engaging, you see the entity? They're engaging what is flight in alignment to my person. The fake sun moves, it's no longer beside the clock over here. It moves as I move away. The fake sun moves away. The fake sun is in this position. Yesterday, while I'm coming from the Stater Brothers, this is an illusion. Those are demons stalking in planes. Demons using UPS plane committed murder in Kentucky. Okay? The entities engaged in what is stalking with the population. Those are the ones that are stalking with light, molesting with impossible light, while they are stalking as a population, proven by, again, omnitrans. There's no sun. While you see it moving, it's moving in alignment to me while I'm on those buses that are sharing in the statewide pattern of conduct. Demons operate those buses. Okay, the entities engaged in this pattern of conduct. The fake sun's over me and moves from the clock. I just captured video of those demons concentrating their plane activity over there. That's where they engage in the U-turn. The fake sun moves as I move up here closer to Euclid. So does the plane activity. This is where they focus their U-turn. The airport is stalking and further into murder with the demons of the Ontario police that arrived engaging conspicuous stalking, engaging in what is gang stalking an American citizen as a means of triggering them. And you're not witnessing anybody that's triggered. You're witnessing me prosecute and litigate on the internet. The entities got it confused, and they're going to be mentally assessed by their confusion and their inadequacy with regard to what is being demons who are stalking in a readily identifiable and proven environment, and also engaging that with a population of demons that are walking in, driving in, stalking in engineered light. This is the pattern of conduct. The communication device is what's instrumental. 9UIF992, gang stalking as well, remaining in the path, and the fake sun moves as I'm out. This is what I documented with the Ontario police while they're engaged in criminal summoning back there. And this is also not at the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library at 10:38 a.m. during daylight savings time. This is where they keep the entrance, the fake sun over that entrance, while the entity is maintaining surveillance inside of that library, just like they are outside. Where the airport stalking is proven through that environment that follows, and it follows in an inconsistent manner, speaking to the fact that it's tailored by me, and also so is the stalking by the Ontario airport. The entities engaged in what is UPS is stalking is hunkering down behind this amphitheater yesterday. like they're landing right here. There's no airport back here. The airport's at 2500 South Archibald, meaning when they're taking off from the airport, there's no plane activity that's hovering, and there's also no U-turns. You're not flying from the airport and making a U-turn and then going back, giving people a tour of the sky face, and you're not engaging in anything other than the P.O.C. under the fake sun. This is where the fake sun is at 4 o'clock in the evening. When I've already documented, this is where the fake sun is at. When I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library, this is the illusion. When I'm inside, this is the location where it would be in alignment, and this is again with the fake sun, but you're looking at what is under no circumstances a natural environment. This is what you're doing while it's aimed toward me, while you're acting like it's at some distance. Well, this is where that distance would be while I'm in the evening at 4 or 5 o'clock being molested with impossible light inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. I just want to be clear, this demon's going to prison. He engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario police. That's Securitas, he's gang stalking, just like Dylan of the of the Securitas of the OVITT Family Community Library, gang stalking. Okay, P.O.C. This is all surveillance. That airport is stalking, so is Wells Fargo, so are the employees, while the demons are driving in the parking lot, molesting me, stalking with impossible light. Okay, which is it's not even the sun, and that's not the sunlight. The Ontario police engaged in criminal summoning using an outdated tactic. Stalking and harassing someone, seeking to trigger and psychologically torture them is not any sort of mental illness that targeted individual suffers from, nor is that the practice of medicine, and it certainly is not within what is the practice of law. The law still applies when you are engaged in what are adjudicating over the liberty rights of an American citizen who's subject to the surveillance system, where criminal defamation is a criminal act committed by that entity that's engaged in surveillance as well, while they are engaged in tactics like what OPD did today, engaged in what is harassment. They don't even have any legitimacy in court. It's not even going to get that deep. They don't even have any legitimacy. They're stalking clearly. They're going to be prosecuted. The entity is engaged in ongoing targeting. Jason Fields is going to prison. It will never support the defamation that they engage in. And the point of what I'm showing you, the entity engages in harassment and targeting, psychological torture, triggering people. And then they use that to then engage in what is defaming their character, stating that you're mentally ill because they're triggering you, because they're psychologically torturing you, because you don't have evidence to prove that they're targeting you. And that is absurd. It's not the practice of medicine. And that is the medical field engaging in this targeting system. Moreover, you're witnessing me litigate. That's what you're witnessing. This is not a loss of control. This is me giving a whole legal breakdown of how this outdated system is putting the psychopaths in prison. This is P.O.C. That fake sun moved as I move. Just like the airport moving, doing their U-turns where I'm located, stalking. Stalking as I move. Very heavy duty monitoring, stalking, and furtherance of murder. The airport's being shut down. That police department's being disbanded. The gang stalkers this morning, they're going to prison. And so is Mike LORENZ for the pattern of conduct of that agency. It is currently 9:41 a.m. This is P.O.C. Wells Fargo is gang stalking. Alrighty, I captured that video while the entity is targeting me with impossible light activity by the customers who are demons, gang stalking with that establishment, proven under what is the maintenance of a light source, which is not the sun, and the maintenance of impossible light, which is not sunlight. Okay, this is how you're looking at what is the inevitable connection between that environment, aside from the fact that they're in it. They're not ignorant about the fact. Nobody noticed that the sun doesn't go anywhere. Yes, they know that. There are a bunch of demons that are stalking. They're psychopaths. A population of the mentally ill that promote propaganda to falsely depict the character of other people while they maintain a surveillance system that is operating and requiring that propaganda in order to kidnap and murder people. This is what Mike LORENZ and Jason Fields relied on. And they thought because of their positions, I'll take your position and I'll prosecute you with facts, actually, and you'll go to prison and you will be subject to mental assessment. That's exactly how that will go. They're both going to prison. I'm surrounding both of those terrorist leaders with evidence while I'm at the Ontario Town Square. Okay, the entities engage in that with the people of the state who are mentally ill, and they share in mental illness. And this is just speaking to not only does the law not support the defamation that these terrorist leaders committed by the pattern of conduct, they are both psychopaths. None of them in any position, nor any puppets of that agency, are in any position to talk about anybody's mind state. They are absurdly sick. I am not exaggerating. And when you delve into the lives of these Satan-serving psychopaths who utilize gay sex to summon demonic spirits, who would participate in sex rituals, who engage in pedophilia, who engage in what is talking to the demon possessed that they're possessed by in order to summon what they, in their mind, they're very sick. This is a sex cult. This is witchcraft that they're practicing. While you're getting into the darkness behind this criminal conduct, they're going, and you're looking at the evidence of it, while they're stalking me in planes and helicopters. Those are the demons that engage in what is homosexuality, sexual sexual promiscuity and all manner of sexual deviancy with regard to perverts that are practicing this demonic system of gang stalking, while they practice murdering people and setting them up and framing them for conduct that they didn't even commit, while they get their sex partners, while they get their co-defendants, their little gang stalking buddies off of criminal acts that they committed or that the government committed, the corrupt acts. This is what Fields is going to prison for, okay? He's a psychopath and a sexual psychopath, and he's engaged in targeting me with his sex partner, Tracy Banks, and doing so with regard to the absurdity of this delusional psychopath that cannot have a grasp on reality, engaging in the things that he's done, while he had the audacity to defame me in order to steal from me, including this very intellectual property. Are you kidding me? No, it's not going to be disregarded in court. I'm going to prosecute you with it. That's why this entity also tried to steal it from me. And you think at the same time you're going to defame me by it? You're delusional. They are, like I said, they are delusional. I'm getting all the acrobats and the cartwheels and the planes. They're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. This is the entity that's engaged in targeting, and it's directly rebutting the malicious conduct regarding the defamation of one's character. And those are the tactics that they use to kidnap people. And it makes absolutely no sense. It's not even the practice of medicine. But I'm breaking down how that system operates, and that's how corrupt government actors engage in what is framing you, and they think that they can get away with it because of who they are, and they have, because they have been doing so to people that have been overwhelmed and bullied by a corrupt system. Enter in the P.O.C, because that is not only absurd, not only is it outrageous, it is highly unintelligent, and I'll break down the stupidity for you. That's what this is. They're going to prison. They're going to federal prison. That's the long and short end of it. They're going to federal prison. It is currently 9:45 a.m., 10:45 during daylight savings time, and the evidence of what the entity's doing at 10:45 a.m., especially when I'm going to the OVITT Family Community Library, when I'm remaining inside of Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments before daylight savings time. Don't forget that. Last year at the same time of year, daylight savings time or not, but I'm also reminding you about what's happening in February and March before daylight savings time. The entity's keeping the fake sun in all manner of locations over me, but not at the Ontario Town Square. And that is speaking to targeting that they are all being prosecuted, and it's proven through science, while these idiots are stalking in ways in which they thought that they were smart enough. You have the audacity to try to defame me, you light-slinging gargoyle. Are you kidding me? You pervert. Who do you think that you are? You're out of your mind, and I'm going to put you where people who are out of their mind belong. You're going into asylums, or you're going to prison. All right, this is the insult of the demons that can't even contend with me intellectually, having the audacity to behind my back necessarily. You're sitting around slinging light, out of your mind, like you're going to defame me. You're going to prison. You're out of your mind, even trying to do so. You're going to prison. It is currently 9:46 p.m. This is 9:46 a.m. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the demon gang stalker with the Ontario Police is doing so at another location under the fake sun. It's very specific. This Caucasian female gang stalker with Starbucks license VO77 Edward 0 at what is 9:51 a.m. with the line of children, where the city of Ontario is utilizing a lot of children to engage in what is the very creepy and demonic pattern of conduct, where they're engaging in what is sexual violence via children. And that demon in particular is engaging in that pattern of conduct at that time under the fake sun, and is going out of their way to do so. I just want to be clear. She's a white woman, gray hair. She has tattoos all over her arms. She's all over both arms is what I just witnessed. And it's 9:51 a.m. That's the entity that's engaged in what is serially stalking amongst an entity. And within that entity, many of those demons engage in systematic stalking. That's relevant for the ways in which you're going to prosecute. 8XFR 579 and license 5GKY867. They're utilizing what are gang members that are using a bunch of children to cross paths. This is what the Upland mayor did, gang stalking me in the city of Upland under the fake sun at the entrance of the Upland Public Library. Upland Public Library. I'm speaking quickly, forgive me. And at that entrance, if you're aware of my documentation, then you've captured it. And if you're paying attention, then you would note these details. The Upland Public Library is facing the Upland Upland City Hall. The gang stalking Upland mayor who shares in kidnapping with the Upland Police Department. That's documentation that'll be published. He's gang stalking, he's kidnapping because the Upland City Hall is right there in relevant position while the entity is engaged in what is criminal summoning, doing so under the fake sun. Upland Police engaged in gang stalking me by helicopter in that specific environment, targeting me with the demon-possessed Nephilim that are in and filling the city of Upland, California as well, proven through what is a science that's going to put these demons in prison. The fake sun that's over me in Upland is the fake sun that would not be simultaneously in Ontario over me, over this apartment building, also at 4 p.m. where Amazon's gang stalking in the same pattern of conduct, where you're looking at what's over me in Upland, as I have not gone through that evidence, and I don't need to. They're already surrounded. These are things that they're not thinking about. They're already convicted. It's already over. It's already over. But the Upland mayor engaged in gang stalking, communicating, talking, giving a speech to kids, doing so while you're targeting me. The proof of targeting me is not the fact that I'm some paranoid person who is egocentric and I think that everything's about me. No, it's proven through the environment that even a fifth grader knows that is not the natural environment. The entity, the gang stalking mayor in Upland, is utilizing children because that's supposed to be the compassionate face of the demon-possessed, gang stalking, vagina monitoring sex offenders. Want you to see them talking to children while they're engaging in sexual violence, psychological torture, ongoing gang violence, and furtherance of murder. That's what they want you to see. While you're looking at that, it's good that they want you to see that because you need to know that they have sex with children. You need to know that they are engaged in what is sexually violating them as a means of sacrificing them. They also engage in criminal activity with them, and this is what the City of Ontario is engaging in, an OVITT Family Community Library that has a fake sign over that same entrance after 5 p.m. where they're engaged in sexual violence and utilizing children to engage in that. 7VYS 694. They're engaging in criminal activity and they just do so with a large group of children. It is the same criminal pattern of conduct, and it is exposing how children amongst the Nephilim are, not only are they, again, these serial killing, vagina monitoring stalkers that are murdering people, they have kids, unfortunately, and they also raise their children up to do the same thing. So there is that. But nonetheless, I want to be clear, this is not new. The entity's been engaged in gang stalking with children, and politicians use that as well. This is what the Ontario Montclair School District is doing at this Ontario Town Square as you document them having that school event over the summer under the fake sun. Same P.O.C. While the same exact pattern of conduct by the same government actors is underway, they employ children in that. That's what's despicable about it. License plate, sex offender, 9MLE779, another homosexual predator, all right? Hunting out my bodily fluids in the bathroom, stalking me in the private space, obsessed with my vagina, stalking, coming all out of their way, scheduling time to come gang stalk little old me, as I'm the center of the demon-possessed universe, the center of their universe, proven by a fake sun rising and setting. Okay, it's currently 9:55 a.m. This is P.O.C. The entity's gang stalking with children. That's, again, the entity is going to be prosecuted for all the ways in which you are. This is the entity, this evidence is going to come back to haunt them, but it's their fault. They're the ones that have destroyed their families. They're the ones that have ruined their ability to stay in this country. They're the ones that have broken their families apart with the breadwinner going to prison, and all the ways in which that this entity is going to regret what they're doing now on this side of a federal prosecution and this side of the federal government dissecting this state with regard to exposing terrorism. All right? It's currently 9:55 a.m. This is P.O.C. Myra, is it okay if I get some wipes, please? Thank you. Sorry. All right, these are the demons stalking via the administration door. Beep. Pacing, 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 pacing. All right, that's the pattern of conduct by the demons inside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Stalking in the path, digging in your butt while doing so. That's crossing in path conduct by the demons that are monitoring on behalf of the Ontario Police. Doing so with a lot of children today. That's all a bunch of activity creation. P.O.C. It's 10:03 a.m.
What you're going to remember is that the fake sun's in the same position it was while the Ontario police are engaged in criminal summoning, which is also revealing to you what is not the natural environment, which is directly relevant to proving targeting by a corrupt government. That's also the Nephilim. All right, that fake sun in the same position where they have all those children engaging in the same pattern of conduct that the Ontario police are while they're wearing uniforms, which is legally relevant to the ways in which the entity is stalking you. That's the same entity that commits kidnapping while masquerading as having authority under the law, having probable cause to arrest, having any sort of facts with regard to anything outside of targeting, which they don't. This is the entity that's in that environment while they are stalking, as I captured video with Mickey crossing path. 10 o'clock in the morning, it's over me again as I cross the street. That's how you know it's over me and not everybody. It's not over everyone. It's over me as I cross that street in the same position a couple hours later. That's also speaking to the probative value of that evidence that I'm capturing while that ongoing P.O.C. is underway inside of this venue. Okay, and the reality is that I am the focal point, and that is proven through that unnatural environment that's present at the end of the day, the daytime, which would be 7 hours later, where the entity is pacing like they are now, and engineer light, stalking with engineer light. The entity has engineer light flying inside of this library while you see psychopaths sitting around staring at a computer, like psychopaths standing around staring at a third party while wearing police uniforms, and they're stalking me. Okay, communicating an unlawful threat, engaging in psychological torture, engaging in what is harassment and a threat to commit kidnapping, and all a manner of that threatening conduct is communicated while the police are stalking you, and you're proven that they're stalking you through an unnatural environment, one that NASA itself would concede is impossible to naturally occur. Science is going to prosecute the imbecilic behavior of those that are targeting of the Ontario police in concert with the imbeciles who are the people of the state. Concentrating on that P.O.C. inside of this venue, and 7 hours later the fake sun is on video stalking with regard to the people of the state, proving that they're stalking, as that fake sun is in alignment to me sitting at the computer station and engineer lights on the floor. That's not even sunlight that would reach into the depths at that. That's that mental illness that is shown in tangible evidence for you to see. The Nephilim's mental illness is going to be demonstrated through their activity that they would like to be creating the illusion of, in the same way that they create an illusion by gang stalking someone, the illusion of mental illness, they're creating the illusion of sanity while they're engaging in what are the pattern of conduct, the behavioral pattern in the specific environment. And I've broken down that illusion for you. And upon breaking down that illusion, it's the direct evidence of mental illness that is born of that population. They're going to be diagnosed and prosecuted. It's 10:06 a.m. That's what you're mindful of as you review those videos today. It's going in federal court. Every single gang stalking officer is going to federal prison. They're engaging in stalking, and they're engaging in conspicuous stalking, and they engage in more of it like psychopaths do while they listen to somebody tell them what they're doing. These are demons that thought nobody would ever know what they're doing. Second of all, while they listen to me, keep me under surveillance, and do things like stalk me by helicopter at the same time in that specific environment. Not a coincidence that you're looking at the evidence of federal stalking while they engage in that, and they're doing so on an ongoing basis. That's exactly what they were doing last night, while that entity under a fake moon, which remained over me and followed me to the bus stop, which is also terrorizing while the entity is stalking you with an unnatural environment. And then understand the position of the ordinary targeted individual who is very much overwhelmed and intimidated and fear-stricken and terrorized because they know that they're being targeted and bullied and lied upon, even though they don't have any way to prove it. So you're putting that yourself in the place of the ordinary target individual. That's who I'm speaking on. But that's why you hear that passion in my voice, because it's outrageous. And you are a whole psychopath thinking that you're going to do that to me. And I've already proven the case against you. You don't even know what you're facing while you're doing it today, again on another day. They're not thinking about all the evidence that's already there. It's already proven. You're going to prison. It's 10:07 a.m. This is P.O.C.
That's all engineered light that's extending flat on the ground, which then, remember, moves all the way into the depths where I'm showing you it's reaching the book stacks back there. These are all stalkers. That's called stalking. This is present for what is light activity while you're stalking. This is the same library where the demons were gang stalking, just like they are right now, under a fake sun. This is the same library where I was at, where the entity was engaged in criminal summoning this morning. That's the reason for that title, because it's criminal with regard to the pattern of conduct where the entity has summoned itself, the illusion that there is something regarding the execution of the duties of an officer that has reasonable suspicion or probable cause, or is engaged in law enforcement, is engaged in any fact gathering, is engaged in law enforcement under any circumstances, when they're actually engaged in what is surveillance. Surveillance which is proven under a fake sun, because this is where it was at this morning. This is where it was at. Where the entity you saw that plane? Stalking. And this is light activity. This is the removal of Paul Leon, a domestic enemy. The municipality is gang stalking. And those are demons that are not taken off behind the amphitheater of the Ontario Town Square. That's stalking, light activity. These are the demons that are engaging in that pattern of conduct. EH04B95, a demon conspiring murder while engaging in a pattern of conduct, crossing path right in your face, conspicuous stalking, which they're going to be going to federal prison for. They also engage in criminal summoning together, and this is mental illness. Okay? That's a psychopath that's stalking you, maintaining a conversation, cheesing from ear to ear like they're not here present, because this is the whole purpose of the fake sun in the first place. Those three demons, those clowns in the Ontario police uniforms, they're going to prison. Like I stated, the fake sun was right here over me, where the demons are using commercial planes, doing cartwheels in them, flying over this apartment building because they know that I'm capturing video. This is the entity that's engaging what is slapping with engineered light, like Dylan did at 4 p.m., where the sun would not be in the same position to slap me with what is not even sunlight at 4 p.m. when you're seeing these clowns in Ontario police uniforms, and it's during the 8 a.m. hour. That's called impossible light activity. That's malicious, and it's also a sex act. You need to know the city of Ontario is also monitoring my vagina. Okay? The gang stalkers that are terrorists, don't try to hide Satan. The gang stalkers that are engaged in what is gang stalking with the city, that are immigrants, are being deported, while the city of Ontario is facilitating terrorism. Okay? Watering the grass is activity creation, relevant positioning, stalking in the path which the government needs under the fake sun. That's the same position it was at this morning, where those demons were engaging in cartwheels under the fake sun while I'm documenting at Euclid Avenue. The clown of demons that were walking in engineer light, as I spoke to the fact that she was monitoring Corey Walton, who's going to prison for kidnapping under the 10:29 a.m. fake sun during June of 2022. She's gang stalking at Starbucks at 6:33. This is the fake sun. I'm prosecuting Starbucks based on this. This is mental illness. This is public corruption that is not even a secret. Mental illness, stalking under a fake sun with engineered light, monitoring my vagina, 5FXA868. So is Paul Leon. The fake sun's over me at 12:51 p.m. That will be 11:51 a.m. outside of daylight savings time. There's no circumstance where this is naturally occurring, and it's also not in Florida. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaged in kidnapping, the malicious pattern of conduct with the people of the state. Public corruption is criminal summoning, gang stalking with children, gang stalking at places like a library, showing you how the civilization is engaged in it. And this is the removal of Paul Leon from office. While public corruption, criminal surveillance is underway through every single last person, and it's in furtherance of murdering that person that they're gang stalking amongst what is surveillance proven. Those clowns are going to federal prison because they don't have to talk to you while they're engaged in surveillance in an environment where you're doing so while I'm investigating that, I'm publishing, you're going to prison. And you're going to be subject to mental examinations. This is P.O.C. All these demons are in this building monitoring me. They're all stalking. They're all demons. That's not sunlight. That is not sunlight. Okay? That's absolutely impossible as well with regard to the place. Not only because the fake sun is here, what is that going to be? 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, it is 3:22 in the afternoon. These demons are mentally ill while the door swipes open and close. It's light activity while they're monitoring. This is the pattern of conduct. This light sweeps into the depths where Mickey's walking on it after 5 p.m. Mickey's going to prison. She was gang stalking with the Ontario police this morning. That's impossible light. Monitoring with minor children. This pattern of conduct is 3:23 p.m. Stalking with light is the evidence of surveillance, and it's committed in furtherance of murder. The entity is maliciously engaged in criminal summoning. While they're engaged in surveillance, they're going to prison. These are children that are pacing. They're monitoring with minors. Ontario police are going to prison for what you saw on video today. It's the pattern of conduct by Mike Lorenz, Jason Fields. They're going to federal prison. That's the P.O.C. It's 3:23 p.m.